Hey, what's up, guys? It's me, and I have a great host with me today, the man, the legend, DJ Thermal Detonator. Hey, man, what's up, bro?
Hey, how you doing, Adam?
Hey, I got a strike on YouTube. I actually wanted to live stream this on YouTube, but I wake up this morning because I did a critique on Christopher Bowling last night
Hmm.
on a video that he did with Richie Allen. I was bored actually, so I wanted to do a critique video. I wake up this morning, I get a strike, even though, I basically laid out the rules and guidelines of like, I'm not using any curse words. I'm not, all this. And I wake up to a strike. It's considered bullying. So because of that, I'm going to upload this video to Odyssey, which is a great platform. I like Odyssey. You have a channel on Odyssey.
Yeah, I just don't keep up with it so much. I just went over it, but I've got mostly my Vimeo I pay attention to, probably secular wise than my YouTube. Luckily that I have one, but yeah.
Yeah. So all right, this video that we're going to do a critique on, 3 days ago, or is it 3 or 4 days ago, formerly of Architects and Engineers, Richard Gage has been interviewing quite the luminaries of the fringe movement of 9/11. And what really caught my eye was Scott Bennett. I'm sorry, I call him Chris. Scott Bennett is a name I haven't heard in a very long time. Nelson, are you familiar with Scott?
No, and I'm quite familiar with a lot of prominent names that come here and there, but he could have been some name you would have seen like in a conference or a flyer, but I don't recognize the name. I've never seen his face.
There was a PDF version of his book I downloaded many years ago. I'm talking about lady, I want to say around 2012 or 13 in that period. And that's the only time I ever heard of him. And when Richard Gage actually interviewed him, what was it, Tuesday, I think, I was surprised. I said, why? And he must have dug the grave for this guy because he's not done anything really relevant the last couple of years, almost 10 years. And here he is interviewing him. Now, I saw the video. You only saw parts of it, right? You only
No,
saw
I didn't watch any of it all.
any of it.
None of it. I didn't even have time to. All I got the messages. I
Right.
saw you guys talking, and I heard about the specific things, and I know you were going to do this by yourself, or I think you did, and then the audio.
Yeah,
But I said, I got to see this for myself, and why don't we just do it like this? Just record and watch, because like I just would rather be shocked and I just give my opinion as I see it.
Yeah. Maybe it was a sign from the above that my sound didn't work, because if you haven't seen this, boy, is this a real treat for everyone watching this video.
Yeah.
You're in for a treat. Now, what I did was I fast forward the beginning because it was Richard Gage and his wife, Gail. They were just, talking about the current movement. And then they were doing the introduction with Scott. And I don't know why. And this is where I think Richard Gage even announced that he could have gotten in trouble when he says that they were talking about COVID and the crazy theories. Now, for those who don't know, Scott Bennett is a former military officer of the 11th Psychological Operations Unit, which is basically, I did a video about psychological operations. I was interviewed by Liberty Weekly, which is one of my favorite interviews, by the way. And we were talking about the nature of psychological operations. And for those who don't know, there are coded color units to psychological operations. You have black ops, gray ops, and white ops. I would label Scott Bennett as a gray operation, where he's not directly working for the government because he's retired, allegedly. So, but he's allowed to like infiltrate movements and groups or individuals. This is what a gray op would do, that they would involve themselves with movements, groups, or individuals and infiltrate this group by spreading nonsensical theories while also at the same time promoting a particular foreign policy worldview. Now, you'll see that during this video because Scott Bennett is obviously a fringe right-winger, and he's a Trump supporter, and he talks about the stolen election, all this stuff. Meanwhile, at the same time, while he does this, he'll go and talk about the most ridiculous, most fringe theories you've heard about 9/11 all into one. So while he's promoting a right-wing foreign policy point of view, he's also disseminating falsehoods.
That blows me away. I'm like, how does that even work? I'm just curious now.
Yeah, I mean, but you make when you get the gears start turning about psychological operations, he actually admits it, and he tells, like, I have a long career at the Pentagon.
I would just be, I would be instantly suspicious if a guy comes upon here and anybody and has that kind of background. Why shouldn't they? Already, it's a red flag,
Yeah, immediately. That's exactly how I took it too.
Yeah. And I'm not trying to judge because, obviously, you've interviewed people in the former military, former law enforcement, all that stuff. And I read stuff from people like that. So but when it's this specific compartment of government and then the subject at hand, give me a break.
Boy, yeah. And you know what? It was a light bulb in my head right away when he mentioned it. And it seemed like he was proud to mention. Now, of course, there is some adulations that he used to work for the Pentagon. Now, of course, I want to make this very clear. Neither one of us are saying that he is involved in psychological operations and he's undermining the truth movement. I have no proof of this. I have no evidence of this. However, his background does suggest that if you understand the nature of psychological operations and what they involved in and the different coded color psychological operation units are, boy, does this guy really fit the bill. So I fast forward about 30 minutes of it because it was really, not pertaining to 9/11. And from this point forward, all the way to the question and answer period, we're going to play the video, and then myself and Nelson will stop the video whenever we want, and whether to interject and correct whatever we think is wrong or obviously misinformation. So are you ready?
Sure.
Oh boy. Let's get into it. Let's break it down. Oh, by the way, let me stop, because you know what I got to do? And I always forget doing this. I got to share the sound, or else.
Yeah, I can't hear it. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't hear it. Now you can hear it, right?
You're an expert
Absolutely.
in psychological warfare. What is that? And what is a psyop?
Well, psychological warfare is to influence the behavior of your opponent, of your target, by influencing their mind, their decision-making process through the instrumentalities of all of their identity, their personality, all of the bells and whistles and levers that control their decision-making process and that influences their sense of self. So their family, their culture, there's a whole matrix of identity influence, and ultimately it's a very complicated way of militarizing advertising, if you will. And psychological operations are designed, traditionally it's evolved quite a lot actually out of the original purpose was to influence the enemy to throw down their weapons and surrender, or to pretend there's going to be an invasion in Europe using rubber tanks up in Britain to convince the Nazis that an invasion was going to happen elsewhere, or all sorts of other examples. But
I'm sorry to pause it, but I wanted to say this too. I found this out recently when I did an interview with Liberty Weekly about psychological operations. One thing they did in Vietnam, the Americans did, they would play this like eerie chanting of an Asian woman, and it was about the dead or about something like that. And because this specific chanting was going on, the Americans would play it in the dead of night. And the Vietnamese, the Viet Cong, basically wouldn't attack because they were afraid of this sound. And that just goes to show you, wow, it's when you think about it, it's really infantile. But when you're talking about a different culture and a different time at that period, and they knew to do this, like, how did they know to do this? They must have learned about this, the culture and what they're afraid of. But that's really amazing when you think about it. And just goes to show you the devious nature of psychological operations. It's fascinating.
The modern psychological operation is to influence and really use fear and influence the populations to be subservient and docile and be accepting of whatever their political elites are advancing. Now, in America, we were protected under the Smith-Mundt Act, which was created in the 1940s that forbid any government agency or military from engaging in psychological operations against its own public. The military was forbidden from influencing the American public. And when I was in the Army doing psychological operations, that was constantly reiterated, that we could not and would not do anything that came 1,000 miles close to influencing the American public.
Well, that wasn't the case, because in 2000, the 4th Psychological Operations Unit, in which I did a video on, actually posed as employees of NPR radio. And NPR found out about it, and they were afraid the fact that the elements of the Pentagon were infiltrating the media. And this is before 9/11. So,
or in any way being seen by them to influence. We could influence foreign countries and foreign enemies and foreign allies. We could even influence senators in Afghanistan that came around for a funding trip, as Stanley McChrystal did. And General Flynn was part of that as well. But we couldn't influence Americans back home until Barack Obama changed the Smith-Mundt Act. And by eliminating the Smith-Mundt Act, he opened the door for a lot of the false flag psyop activities that have been conducted against the American public with all sorts of different false flag attacks in theaters. And you see that, it's almost like a nebulous cloud constantly changing shape. But Obama had done that, and it's opened the door.
Sandy Hooker.
Yeah, you know it, right?
You know it. I mean, if he's saying open the door, he's talking about the season of false flag shootings because Obama. I mean, this guy is just like one of the tales of InfoWars.
I love it. You saw it right away.
Sort of an open season on the American public. So examples of the psychological operations that we see going down right now could be the inflammation of American fears over Russia, and the excitement of the American people to be distracted over to the Russian-Ukrainian theater of operations in order to distract Americans away from the Biden civil war that the Joe Biden administration is fomenting by opening the borders, flooding the country with illegal aliens, forming these.
I wonder how many times this guy's been on Alex Jones. I mean,
I have no idea.
Yeah, he just sounds like a regular, annual every couple,
It's
times a year.
Right. It's almost like right away what this guy's about. Right away.
There's nothing original about it.
Right.
It's like all the same bullshit we've all heard.
Exactly.
Authoritarian vaccine mandate hit teams, or strike teams as they've called them, engaging in military training for domestic civil war purposes, as well as all sorts of other government shutdowns and measures of authoritarianism. So the psyop of distracting Americans overseas to Ukraine and Russia is to cover up the domestic implosion of the Biden administration here and the implosion of the Democrats. So I think
I can see it partially a distraction, but not from the things he's saying, not from, but. No.
But you'll notice throughout I'm not talking to Nelson here. So you'll notice throughout the playing of this video that this guy basically does not implicate not one Republican during the playing of this video.
Yeah, exactly. So, it's the new field of right conspiracy, left conspiracy now.
Yeah,
it's like,
exactly.
It's not like the way it was, at the Bush years and the beginning of Obama. It was kind of just like we're going out after everybody. Now these people, it's like partisanship conspiracy. Yeah,
very. And one thing I want to make clear too, we both are definitely have our complaints regarding the left.
Yeah, absolutely.
God's sakes. I mean, I'm against the mandates, and I live in New York.
Sure.
But yeah, also too, just want a heads up. One thing I've noticed during this interview was that this guy basically will barely talk about 9/11.
Middle of a lot of media
until the question and answer period.
Yeah, but it's like, why does even Richard have him on?
Right, and Richard doesn't even stop him. So you'll see. But when he talk about 9/11, Wow.
schemes. That's why people, of course, are not watching Fox News as much, aside from Tucker Carlson, who's okay. And I've met Tucker personally and given him a copy of my book, which changed his life forever, essentially, because he hadn't been in the deep state. But
you know that he read it, huh?
Oh yeah.
Oh
yeah, and we had worked at the same.
Oh, give me a
together.
break! Oh man, Robbie Martin's got to see this. Yeah, Robbie Martin's got to see this. I mean, it's it's like Tucker was like, we tried to get into the CIA for Christ's sake. It's like
exactly.
Yes. There might be some things I may have agreed with that, and as even with his criticism with like the ADL and stuff like that. But then he brings on these warmongers on him instantly, talking about going into China.
Right.
Just like, dude, you don't get it, man. Like you're not one of us.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
and I see some libertarians on Twitter actually siding with Tucker Carlson. I try to remind them, listen, he may be against the Soviets, but he's full on with China.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to, if somebody gonna get on Fox to cover some issue or whatever, go for it. I mean, our friend Reed Coverdale is supposed to be on Fox Business here pretty soon.
Yeah, can you believe that, man?
Yeah,
that's great for him.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Anyways, let it go.
Foundation. Tucker was at the Heritage Foundation. We knew a lot of the same people, and I said, just be careful with this, because here's my story. Here's who I'm at. Here's where I came from. Here's what I did. Dov Zakheim, Roger Zakheim, Covington and Burling, Booz Allen Hamilton, Snowden.
Not the joystick controlling the remote, take out the cop controller's office, cover up the 2.3 trillion.
Yeah.
Of mine, Snowden.
2.3 trillion from the Clinton administration.
Who was part of the intelligence that I was following when I was in terrorist financing. When they came against me, the white hats that I worked with at Booz Allen Hamilton, including Snowden, got out of town or went invisible, and some interesting things happened. So this was the beginning of the unraveling of the deep state, and Assange was part of this
deep
as well.
state. There you
Assange
go. When you start playing that there you go. It's just like, the neo conspiracy theorists. That's what we should call it.
You know what's funny? I Nelson mentioned this before. I did a response video to this, but the sound didn't come out right. And when he brought this up, I basically said, well, there it is. Illuminati, New World Order. 5G. Stuff like that. I said, New World Order. The only New World Order I know is Scott Horton, Kevin Nash, and Hulk Hogan. That's all I know.
Yeah.
We've been providing a lot of the
New World Order I know is a ministry
the
song.
Clinton State
Department. That's a good song, but they're a good group.
Yeah.
A lot of this was known by Trump, and it's still coming out. But all of this is trackable. All of this is traceable, and none of this can be discounted or disavowed or proven false, because everything has been measured since 2000 and 2009, 2010 was when it really got to happen. So this is a 10-year report. This is a 10-year process, but often it takes this long to really, I think, awaken the American people to be prepared for action. So that's how I kind of came about to my involvement.
This guy's like almost like wants to make a new QAnon storm for the Capitol or something.
Yes.
Keep going, let it go.
It was sort of an accidental falling into it. But once you become aware of 9/11, once you vomit out all of the red goo that the Matrix tries to stuff down your throat, once you vomit all that out, you really are never the same again. And you can't undo what you know. And like I said, Richard, when you have helped assemble the physical science side of the Rubik's Cube of 9/11,
exactly,
all of these other sides,
the junk
and
science
these cubes begin to assemble themselves. The political implications of George Bush, Dick Cheney,
that kosher Alex Jones standard of 9/11.
Right.
As long as you got that, you're ready to go.
Yeah, you can
no
act
hijackers,
Right. Exactly. The whole basket.
Contractor realm, the Carlyle Group, the Booz Allen Hamilton Group,
there you go.
The neoconservative Project for a New American Century, and all of these academics from Leo Strauss to Francis Fukuyama that were militantly and belligerently seeking to conquer the rest of the world under an American empire hegemony. Countering Russia was part of that.
That's not what happened. You know, it's just like people go back and forth with the Brzezinski thing, with the, you know, the grand chessboard, and like,
Exactly.
no, we could talk about Greater Israel. I mean,
There we go. Hey,
That's
no,
fine,
don't
but
say
that's
that here.
yeah. It's just like, hey, you think it's PNAC? Well, buddy, hey,
Yeah.
Al Gore and Joe Lieberman, go look up Lieberman. You know,
He
if it was
he probably don't even know who that is.
no, he forgot the election in 2000. If he
Right.
really wanted the top dog to pull off
right.
this great American conspiracy with the Jews in Israel and 9/11, they just would have put John McCain in office. They just would have made sure John McCain beat
Right.
Bush in 2000.
That's a good point. Right. And you bring up, I think that's an excellent point to make, because Joe Lieberman would have won the election.
Yeah.
Now,
Hey, if they want the Jewish conspiracy, push it. Give them the ripe one, because they don't even see it. Like, they're like, whoa,
Right, exactly.
It could have been like more, because that means their whole thinking of it is wrong. It's
Sure.
like, it's, yeah.
And on top of that, we would have went to war with Iran years ago.
Sure.
So, what's taken so long?
Was at the end of their rope, but then came back miraculously, and now is in a position where they are waking up the rest of the world to the deep state corruption in the United States and in Israel and in Britain. And I would say too, when I was in Iran in 2018,
Corrupt in Israel, huh?
The Zionist Wahhabi ideology. Right. Hey, listen, we're not, first of all, I don't want people to get the wrong picture here. We critique Israel, both of us, but we just don't go to the extremes like this guy does. To this guy, it's Jew.
Yeah.
Everything is Jew.
Yeah. And it's all buzzword. It's all buzzwords.
Yes.
And like, it's like, oh yeah, you know about the Saudi Israel relationship. Oh, whoop-de-doo. Yeah, wait till you see how many other Arab relationships they've had behind closed doors.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, just this guy basically wants a simplistic viewpoint to train, because that's what he's dealing with, the people that watch him.
Was part of a team of people that went over there to talk, and there's a lot of CIA guys and State Department guys and military guys that were with me when I was in.
One thing also too, he'll always mention the deep state. What is first of all, explain what the deep state is.
What the deep state is. It's everybody who's not Trump in the government.
Right, exactly.
That's what the deep state is.
Yeah,
literally.
That's right. That's what he means.
It's a conspiracy theory euphemism for NWO, Illuminati, globalists, all this other stuff. All these. But oh no, we got to let the conspiracy theorist president slide. So we can't call it all that anymore. So we call it the deep state.
That's right. It's an eerie cynicism to where it's us versus them. That's what this guy is.
Yeah.
There's two sides. We're good because we're representatives of God and country, and you're not. You're a communist, you're a socialist, you're the NWO Illuminati, and you're all the Obama. That's what you are.
Ron, they had all of the proof and the evidence and the knowledge of 9/11, and they were laying it out. And it was, I'll share that with you because you should know the work that you've done and the work that others have done. The Iranians know about, and many other people do. I'm just saying I was in Iran, and it's astounding how much the rest of the world knows. 9/11 was the great false flag deception that they tried to pull over on the rest of the world, and they pulled it over against the American people. But now all of that is being pulled away. It's burning up in the light of truth, and I think it's only going to quicken, and it's going to get more exciting when colleges and schools and high schools and
by the way, wasn't Trump going to blow the lid off World Trade Center 1 and 2?
Yeah, he was going to expose the Saudi role, and then he ended up selling the Saudis and going sword dancing with them.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, it was embarrassing too. I had spoken, I can't prove it, but I'd spoken to a Palestinian gentleman right after that had happened, and he was reading through Arab press, and he said that the people in the Arab media were laughing because when he was dancing, there was a Bin Laden brother or family member in that crowd.
Is that right?
Yeah, that's what they said. I can't prove it, but that's what they. I don't read Arabic. I wish, but
Right. And actually, that wouldn't be so far from the truth because the Saudi bin Laden group is still the biggest construction magnate in the country, and Trump actually worked in construction or at some level.
Yeah, makes
So it
sense.
wouldn't be, it would make sense.
Veterans groups, and more and more Americans wake up to the fact that 9/11 was not only the end of our Republican freedoms, but it's also serving as the starting point for regaining
Republican
them in
freedoms.
return.
I was just gonna say, what's a Republican freedom?
What about Democrat freedom? What about Green Party freedoms? What about
Bring them and walking this backwards.
Because 9/11 is so obvious once you really look at it.
Is it?
It's easier than the COVID issue. It's more transparent, if you will. They made more mistakes.
Well, then tell me why there is a large contingent in the truth movement that still doesn't believe a plane actually hit the Pentagon.
Yeah.
If it's so apparent.
Yeah. I'm still trying to figure out who they're trying to kill at 5:20 p.m.
maybe
But move on.
Mistakes. The science is got. Well, that's good, but let's go back to 9/11. I want to.
Oh, by the way, you didn't see what just happened there. Oh, I guess. Oh, that's good actually.
What's that?
He edited out a part because he kept talking about COVID.
Oh, that's what that was.
Wow.
Okay, that's
So
all that
you saw,
clip.
did you see that jump?
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah,
I saw
I'll
the
go
edit.
back 10 seconds. Wow, look at that.
The science is got.
See, okay, I saw the original live video, and what happened was he started talking about COVID, and Richard
who
Gage.
Richard was? Was Richard going on a tangent, or was the
No,
other guy?
it was the other guy. And
Yeah.
Richard Gage, I think I told you off camera. Richard Gage actually said, I don't think we'll be able to stay up if we talk about this. And that's why, he should know better. Right?
Oh,
He's
yeah,
he should know better.
Yeah, of course.
But you wonder, this is why I was insinuating, for psychological operations. He's meant to subvert the truth movement and still spread these crazy cock-making theories.
Well, that's good.
Oh, yeah.
But let's go back to 9/11. I want to get a deep understanding of how an operation like this might progress.
Well, he should have had you on. Right? Don't you think?
Yeah.
He wants
Oh,
a deeper
me? Oh, me?
understanding.
Are you talking about
you.
me on?
Yeah, of course.
Oh yeah, I could give some ideas.
You would think, right? Because this is not his area. Now,
No. Because there's too many things to talk about, even within the last 20 years that did happen, and were just completely ignored.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because you did mention during the week, I wish that Gage would have interviewed me, and I said, that would have been right. Now the mistake he's making here is that his strength is the physics.
Yeah.
He's talking about the geopolitics this week, and he had on Barbara Honegger, Adam Eisenberg, and Chris Bennett, and what he could have had you on.
From inception to execution. Can you walk us through that?
Well, working backwards after 9/11, I would say it's a compartmentalized operation that had participants at the highest levels. You had Saudi intelligence, Saudi royal family, because they were the pawns that were used in this.
There it is, right?
Pawns, so they weren't even involved.
Right, exactly.
Right. Yeah, throw out the 28 pages, whatever, right?
Exactly.
That's what it is. It's like discard it. Well, he's doing, at least he's smart to discard it versus that we're seeing people who won't discard the 28 pages, but they're still saying no plane hit the Pentagon or
that's
on the fence with it. So
Barbara Honegger, we're talking about you, Barbara Honegger.
Yeah, oh yeah. I mean, a few people we even know we've been civil with that still.
Sure.
This game, the Israeli Mossad and Israeli intelligence were used in this game. The 5 dancing Israelis are example. The Israeli teams that were planting explosives.
There it goes, right? So there it is, right? Okay, this is where I made a big stink in the video I tried to make regarding, all right, there are certain statements this guy makes, right? Where if I'm the interviewer, if I'm Gage, I'm going to say, all right, hold up, Chris. Where did you come across that information? But since Richard Gage, this is why I'm making the thing about him in geopolitics, Richard Gage knows nothing about geopolitics. This is outside his realm. Yeah. So he's actually basically giving faith to what Scott Bennett says, or what Adam Eisenberg says, or what Barbara Honegger says, because it's not his field. And you could see it when he doesn't even ask questions or refute anything or ask him, hey, listen, Scott, where did you come across the information? Don't you think that's the case, Nelson?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, sure, yeah, absolutely. I mean, just to clarify, just with regarding Eisenberg, I'm still I have communique going on with him.
Okay.
So it's very civil. I'm like almost thinking he's a situation like April Gallup. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? That she may have been compromised from other people, just conspiracy. But Barbara Honegger, all these other people who've been into it long, that's just a different story. Sure,
yeah, that's also a harder nut to crack.
Yeah.
Were another Israeli
yeah.
Media participation, not to mention some of the other computer graphics that were used in some of the phantom appearances of planes and things like
there it is.
Phantom appearances of planes. So he's like CGI TV faker. Hey, whatever, anything goes, dude. Just don't believe.
There's no listen. I always make it a point to raise this. There is belief and there is knowledge. With belief, there is no roof. With knowledge, there is, because there is no room for belief. You know something, you can act on something. With belief, you can't act on. So you might as well just you could say whatever you want. So with this guy, you're going to hear more, and this is just the sprinkles. Wait till you see the ice cream and cherry
like that. The American CIA, of course, were used. Since Susan Lindauer is a well-documented authority on that. Her handler had said this is an Israeli Mossad operation, and then she was forever cautious.
What?
Well, it just there are some things I may have agreed with her, but then when she gets into the planes and stuff like that, she's just like doesn't know what the hell she's talking about, and then it's just too. I mean, it's just too much emphasis just on the Twin Towers itself.
Yeah.
So it's like, she's kind of nuts, but I've seen nuttier already. I mean, I think Barbara Honegger is more nuttier than Susan Lindauer.
Agreed. I can't put my finger on Lindauer.
Yeah, I can on Lindauer. I can, and I'd like to talk to her someday. And I've tried, with messages and forums, and there's been a few exchanges, but not enough. But it's the bold step to say that, but she needs to be talking about the Arab stuff. She needs to be talking to like Sybil Edmonds and stuff like that. People like that.
Let me pick your brain for a moment, because I think you're one of the few people that knows this. Was it Susan Lindauer? I can't remember. So was it Susan Lindauer that basically said that she heard that there were vans coming into the World Trade Center plane?
Yeah.
Is that her? Okay, that's her.
That's her. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, she had gag orders and stuff like that. I mean, she was like silenced her. I think she may have done like jail time or something too.
Oh man, you're right. That's right. You know what? I totally forgot about this. She actually went to court, and she for a I think she was labeled psychologically. I forgot the name of the depression or whatever.
Yeah, but it sounds like her own job could have done that to her too.
Yeah, it could. Hey, you never know, because I think they tried to. Yeah, exactly.
The FBI, of course, played a role in this. The 1993 bombing of the World Trade Center tower, I think, was.
I know you got thoughts there, because he's actually referring to the FBI planting the bomb in the World Trade Center.
That's what he just said. I just missed that. What did he just say? I'm sorry.
No, I'll forward back for 10 seconds.
Caution to never mention it again. The FBI, of course, played a role in this. The 1993 bombing of the World Trade Center.
Now that's
all Alex Jones. That's just proof of Alex Jones's stupid narrative. But the only thing you could implicate the FBI with revolves around that is maybe the landmark plot, which didn't happen.
Right.
But the bombing itself, no. No,
right.
Not not with all the people involved. I mean, not with the way.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I made a step on your toes. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Oh no, I would just say, not with the circumstances, with all the people coming in and out of the country, and just trailing everything. Salem wasn't even involved in making the bomb. I mean, he may have.
Right.
We think he could have had
Exactly.
he may have been at a distance still, but because he still had to serve Egyptian intelligence. But if the FBI wasn't going to pay him, he wasn't going to like probably go inside the mosque or all the different mosques.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
so no, the FBI, no. I mean, the FBI fumbled up on a lot of other things. I'll say that they covered up a lot of things.
Damn straight.
I mean, especially when it goes to El Said Nosair and
Josie
but-
Hadass.
yeah, all that, there's still a lot of blame of incompetence on our government as well, but no, that's not what happened. Nope.
Just to give a brief rundown for our viewer regarding the conspiracy of the FBI and the bombing. Emad Salem is a former Egyptian army official who basically dossied up his resume to his handler, Nancy Floyd, but he was nothing more than a driver for an official, but he did serve in the army. However, he was recruited to infiltrate the Al Farouk Mosque in Brooklyn, where there was a known radical from Egypt there named Omar Abdel Rahman, the Blind Sheikh. And he became his bodyguard, the personal bodyguard. Now, one of the things he did was he actually went to visit our friend El Said Nosair in prison. I think Attica, if I'm right.
Yeah.
Is it Attica?
Yeah, it was Attica.
And El Said Nosair told him about a bombing plot, bombing Jewish neighborhoods using bombs. And he asked Emad Salem if he knew how to make bombs. Emad Salem said yes. So he went back to the group, and then he went to his handler and said, listen, they want me to make bombs. She went to Carlos Dunbar. They were talking about it. They went and they pulled him out later.
Yeah.
Now, could they have pulled him? What could they have let him go on with it? But he didn't know how to make bombs.
Yeah.
There's the problem.
Yeah,
right?
and then
There's
and the
problem.
powder exchange too. Because,
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to bring up.
Yeah,
Right.
because it's like he says that they were gonna, wanted powder, but this is the powders for pipe bombs and stuff.
Right.
That's exactly what the targeting. But it's like, when he was going back to the FBI telling them like what they're up to, it wasn't just these bombing spots and Jewish neighborhoods. It was also assassinations and
Yes.
trying to break El Said Nosair out of prison.
Out of jail, yeah. By killing
this
the
is
judge.
why. Yeah, and this is why his cousin Ibrahim El Gabroni had 5 passports for all his family members from Nicaraguan passports.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
the FBI actually, this is where the disconnect between what Scott Bennett is saying. The FBI went and they replaced the powder in the blasting cap with fake ones. Emad Salem told them, don't do that because you'll blow my cover and I'll be killed. So if the FBI wanted to make the bombs, they wouldn't have replaced the powder in the blasting cap. So they did anyway. They went back and they replaced it with, but Emad Salem was pulled out of the operation, but he told Omar Abdel Rahman that he thinks the FBI was tailing him. So this way he can explain his disappearance. He does. He goes away. In replacement of him, Ramzi Youssef.
Yeah.
What does Ramzi Youssef make? A urea nitrate bomb.
and we don't even know if he was even a replacement because it's we don't even know if Salem, because it's like, Ajaj is the one is in Texas. He's the one that goes and flies and picks him up. So they didn't have to go all the way there, but I'm sure there's contacts with the different mosques or businesses or whatever. But it seems to me, they were still working on, when he was in there, it was still just kind of deciding. And, I don't know. It's like, obviously everyone says it's, was Ramzi Youssef, but, Ajaj was supposed to get in there and be doing it because he had more that, but he ends up getting picked up at the airport when they land here by the, INS. So, it's bit of mismanagement. Ramzi Youssef could have been completely right about what he said. They didn't provide me enough money. They didn't provide me enough explosives. He said this when he was captured, and brought to New York in 1995.
Right.
He was telling this, FBI or CIA, over in Pakistan when he was caught. So, but that doesn't mean, that it's a small network of people. We're talking about a large network of people that were going on then, and it remained that way and grew probably more all the way up until 9/11.
Bingo. And also too, just like how there's no hijackers for 9/11, if there's no Arab bomb makers for 93, we don't get to look into the profile of Ahmadinejad and Israeli intelligence.
Yeah, exactly. Can't
Now, I
have a
think
Ramsey Youssef
you
and
know,
KSM connection.
Right, exactly.
Ramsey, bringing a Jaj who's a Mossad asset,
Right.
or the nephew, having an Israeli roommate while he was living in United Arab Emirates, or the fact that KSM apparently travels to Israel and nobody tells us why.
Right. Because if there's no Arab bomb makers or hijackers, why look into the profiles of these people?
Yeah.
So it makes you wonder why people like Scott Bennett are telling you that there's no Arabs, that there's no hijackers, there's no bomb makers. Yeah. Why?
This has been a long time coming, and there's a lot of material too about symbology being used in films pointing to 9/11, and there's a lot of evidence.
He's got it. The Simpsons, 9/11.
Simpsons.
Yeah.
Oh. Lone gun,
thrown up on the table.
He brings that up. By the way, that was actually a talking point in Christopher Boland's video last night.
That assembles essentially the mosaic image. It's like one of those computer graphic images that you have to stare at for a long time before your eyes adjust and you see the picture, the three-dimensional picture inside the computer graphic artwork. 9/11 is a similar experience. It has to be looked at with a peripheral vision of all the different components to see the general shape of what was behind this computer animated event. And Dick Cheney and Condoleezza.
Wow.
And Richard Gage just stands there, just takes it.
Perfect.
Damn, dude.
Look at him. He's like, yeah, man, I believe it.
It's possible.
Right, it's possible.
Lisa Rice and Donald Rumsfeld, and of course Dov Zakheim, my boss at the Booz Allen Hamilton
Nod
team.
your head. Just
before Booz Allen Hamilton, Dov Zakheim was
head.
the comptroller at the Pentagon, working with Rumsfeld. For
exactly. There he is.
Bingo. There you go.
Yeah, classic.
Right.
Just like it's Bolin garbage mixed in with InfoWars because
he meant it. Right, exactly.
It's all it is.
It's
and people don't understand. Well, how could that mix? He's always talking about Israel. Well, because you share the stupid Pentagon thing. And guess what? Jones dabbled with the Israeli stuff a little bit. It's why he had Burmis, his little lemming, to do Fabled Enemies, to barely go around it and wonder. Oh, I don't know if these hijackings or not. There may be phantom planes and
right. Exactly.
It's just completely just gets you, fucks your mind. You don't even you can't even put anything together.
It's too big. It's too big. No way.
$1 billion had been unaccounted for. His son, Roger Zakheim, was a lawyer at the Armed Services Committee.
Yeah, I bet you these people don't even know who Rabbi Bar Kahana is.
Who?
Exactly. They don't even know who that is. I bet you. Yeah.
Yeah, but he may. Here's another one. The dancing Israelis, but he wouldn't know anything about the Pennsylvania Israel.
Yeah.
Dov Zakheim soon after left the Bush administration and went to Booz Allen Hamilton to head up the terrorist financing operations, where a lot of the money was being redirected and a lot of military hardware was being redirected to Israel under Dov Zakheim. So the event of 9/11 was compartmentalized at a variety of government actors, variety of military actors, which I find great grievance towards, because when you're in the military, and there's a lot of military people that have come out that have shown 9/11 to be false. Jim Fetzer, a former Marine.
Sandy Hooker.
Yes.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. Why not? Why not?
Sandy Hooker cock,
Man.
Wow.
I mean, he purports the heavyweights like Barbara Honegger, Alex Jones, and now Jim Fetzer.
Fetcher's so successful. He's so broke now because of those lawsuits. Yeah.
Crush.
That's such a great person. What a perfect person to reference.
Right, exactly. What does that tell you?
That I went to school with, Karen, I think Kakowski. I can't pronounce her name sometimes because it's Polish, but she was one of the 9/11 military officers that came out talking about this. There's been a lot of people that have exposed the military participation, the cover-up, the Air Force cover-up, General Dick Myers, his participation. They did this ultimately, of course, because
Well, you notice that Gage does not challenge any of these accusations. Nothing.
No.
Not to say that he's wrong, mind you. What I'm saying is that Gage is allowing him to get away with all these statements without providing any evidence whatsoever for the benefit of his audience. So he's saying all the slogans. That's all he's saying.
They, I think, miscalculated the damage and deaths that would have occurred. You saw this conveniently reflected, I think, in Building 7 being brought down as a command post of the operation. I think Rudy Giuliani and his police commissioner, Bernard Kerik, and others were involved with a lot of this. Bernard Kerik.
How?
Yeah.
How?
Yeah. And like, if they were so involved, why would they get near the goddamn building and almost get killed by fucking debris? You know, it's just like like blaming, you know, the Brzezinskis, or like, well, why did Micah Brzezinski almost get killed?
How are they involved? Like right now, I would say, if I'm Gage, I'm saying, okay, Scott, I have to stop you there. How are they involved? No, he sits there and all he does is, like you said, he nods his head. Yeah, that's, oh, wow. Like all this is new to him.
God.
Is it particularly interesting?
Oh,
No, yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I just think, look, this guy is so old.
Yeah, it's just like,
to be mature enough to, like, come on.
It's repetitive. We've heard all this before.
He had been made Secretary of the Interior, I believe, of Iraq by Bush, and was there bribed and monitored by an Israeli Mossad team. He was given $250,000 to report on internal operations of Iraq. And that's one of the reasons that when he came back, they prosecuted him for other crimes. But Bernard Kerik and Rudy Giuliani and
he actually went to Israel to talk to the police chief about Israeli drug rings, because at the time, now you covered this extensively, about the Israeli drug. Yeah, exactly right. Bingo.
This whole team that was in New York were aware, I think, of a lot of this material. Now, you know, no one's been brought to justice or prosecuted. I think you're heading up a lot of that legal advancement, and it needs to continue. But
really,
all of these people that were engaged in 9/11 and in the early 2000s that have went their own way, they really need to be brought back and held to account. But I think looking at the military, the political kabuki theater that was conducted, their agenda, of course, was to trigger the American consciousness into a Pearl Harbor mentality, where America would then justify a military adventure over to Afghanistan, over to Iraq, over to Libya, over to Syria, over to Lebanon, over to Iran, ultimately, and redesign the entire Middle East to be basically a gas station for America. And they thought they could pull it off. They thought that you could substitute religion in the Middle East mentality for
he's just wrong. He's just wrong to believe like the government itself could pull it off. But it's like the idea that they thought that they could run that pretext and do all those things. Yeah, they thought they could, and they haven't really succeeded, especially when it comes to Syria.
Yeah, well, that's what I mentioned in the video I tried to make. Syria was a failure. Libya was not. Iraq, I guess Hamid Karzai was the president, but Afghanistan was a total failure. It was the biggest failure of all.
Yeah, it was a waste of time. There was no reason to go. I mean, we should have been going into Pakistan as far as going after the official narrative.
Oh yeah, but you're getting to the heart of the matter now. Exactly right. But one thing Hill won't bring up, which I'm surprised, probably he doesn't even know it. Clinton administration. How many times they could have killed Bin Laden, not just in Afghanistan, but in Sudan? Could have killed him.
Yeah, he didn't even bring up the OKC bombing.
Oh, he doesn't. Not once.
No, he can't even connect it. Wow.
Not once.
Wow. Economic Western clothes.
Not once.
Without taking into account the full religiosity of the Middle East personality. That's often the only thing that they had. So the aggressiveness of America being going over to conquer these territories, that led to the insurgency and a lot of the uprisings. But it's been a great miscalculation, and the world, I think, has sort of watched us exhaust ourselves. That most recently has been climaxed in the exhaustive pulling out of Afghanistan, And I think that's only going to follow more and more. I think the American empire that sought to go out and conquer the Middle East and ultimately use that as a stepping stone to conquer Russia, I think it's actually blowing back, and it's not going to achieve the ends that they had hoped for.
Well, back
That
to
I would actually
Dov.
agree. Towards the, you know,
Right. There was that one point that he made about, the United States, why they went to war in the Middle East. Another thing about psychological operations is that they'll sprinkle factual statements.
yeah, exactly.
And then put in like really extreme stuff. Right. So in other words, if all this guy did basically was make something up and all falsehoods, people would be on it right away and say, "No, this guy's."
It's like he'll give us the loaf of bread, but he'll give us a bullshit recipe.
Right, exactly. There's a raisin in there.
Yeah,
Zatkaim,
Perfect.
your
Perfect
boss.
Analogy. Perfect analogy.
Yeah.
What do you know about him? What can you really reveal? Is he a mastermind somehow in 9/11?
Look, what a very infantile question. I mean, imagine saying that like this. Hey, but that reminded me of Stuart Crosby, God love his soul, on Facebook when he talked with Yaron Shmuel. He says, "Hey, aren't you one of the Israelis that tried to blow up the world?"
Oh yeah. Or you just asked him, "Why aren't you one of the dancing?"
Yeah, aren't you one of the dancing? The first question you asked him, I'm like, God, you lost him. You lost him, right? But man, can you imagine telling a liaison officer of over 15 years experience? One of the questions you asked about 9/11 is, "Hey, is Dov Zakheim a mastermind of 9/11?" Like, God.
Well, he was, again, the comptroller of the Pentagon. He had played a part in Heritage Foundation. Heritage was taken over by a lot of Zionists.
I'm surprised he doesn't feel embarrassed to ask that. I mean, wow, to ask that, was Dov Zakheim a fucking mastermind?
How would he know that?
How would he's been like reading Boleyn books about? I mean, I know he likes Boleyn stuff, so it's
And also notice what he said. I want you to
look. If he says that, if he would even entertain that because he thinks it's a possibility, and his ultimate objective with AE 911 Truth is really to prove a Jewish property management conspiracy.
Exactly. That's right. They've been harping on Larry Silverstein for years.
Oh yeah. So, and it's like he wasn't there in 1993.
That's another good point. Right. Exactly. Now, Liz, I want the viewers...
Asbestos was still illegal. It was still, they still had to clean it up in 93.
That's right. They still had to.
Yusuf wasn't doing it, wasn't going to bring it down for that.
Right, exactly. Now, I want the viewer to listen. The question he asked was Dov Zakheim the mastermind of 9/11? I just want you to listen to his answer, and then I'll stop it and ask you if he answered it.
Neocons, who again see an American Zionist Israeli military juggernaut with also the British as the leading police force that needs to go and conquer the rest of the world, and to eliminate the surrounding countries around Israel has always been preeminent in the geopolitical strategy of the Zionist neocons. Dov Zakheim was a advocate for that. His son Roger Zakheim also was a part of the law firm Covington and Burling, which again the different mosaics of this whole mystery, when you pull them together, you see some interesting connections and lineages.
Who cares?
It's just sloppy Jew counting.
Who cares?
Yeah. You know how many Jews you know how many Jews you can find and blame and try to tie into all this? I mean, it's like,
unbelievable.
Yeah.
To this guy, it's Jew.
Yeah.
Get the Jew. But again, remember his question. Is Dov Zakheim a mastermind?
Yeah. Well, look, to believe that, you would have to believe the Bush dynasty are loyal Zionists.
Right. And they're not.
Yeah, they're not. They're not.
Not even his
when
father.
You go look at Father HW turning down Israeli loans because they kept building settlements, when he sends Jim Baker to the to the APEC or the Jewish lobby group and says, tells them you guys need to settle a border, and tells them that, you know, the idea of greater Israel is an unrealistic, you know, dream of theirs, to drop it. Literally says it.
Yeah. By the way, that's from the APAC conference that you uploaded on your channel.
Yeah, that's like 4 months. This is like 4 or 5 months after after Bush gets in office. He sends Jim Baker over to tell him, you know, and it's like you can see it completely, you know, and it's like it's like I said, they don't look back to the 2000 election. They don't, you know, it's, you know, it could have been a Gore and Lieberman administration in office, and the attacks would have still happened.
Rogers that time goes to the law firm.
And it wouldn't matter. Cover up wise, it would have been the same. Probably better.
Yep. Probably better.
And Covington and Burling is money laundering money for the Clinton Foundation in exchange for State Department licenses under Hillary Clinton to go to Middle Eastern countries for weapons licenses and other things. So the Clinton Foundation, Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, Biden were using their positions in government as a wheel of fortune. And Roger Zakheim, the son of Dov Zakheim, was one of the participants in that, going to Covington and Burling, helping be the legal money laundering advocate. That was also one of the reasons that they came after General Flynn. Covington and Burling approached General Flynn to represent him, and the lawyers that were involved with Covington and Burling, besides.
Are you the viewer?
Yeah. It's like, you're gonna bring that up, and then when he's got lawyers like Alan Dershowitz.
Alan Dershowitz.
Give me a fucking break. Alan Dershowitz fucking helped to fucking mediate a cover up with the dancing Israelis. You know.
I mean, what? Are you finally getting it, the viewer?
Yeah.
And by the way, did he answer the question so far?
No.
And Eric Holder and Lanny Brewer. They worked for the firm before
and Clinton
they joined
only
the
goes to Epstein. Nobody else.
Nobody
else. Just the Clintons are just the client of the Epstein.
Not Trump.
Not Trump. No.
There's no video.
Because it's the deep state. Things the deep state.
They returned to that firm when they left government. So you had Roger Zakheim, Eric Holder, Lanny Brewer, Stuart Eisenstadt. You also had
all Democrats, by the way. Keep going.
Michael Chertoff. Michael Chertoff, who
I was waiting for that name.
Yeah, there you go.
I was waiting for that one. Keep going.
He was the guy who let the 5 dancing Israelis go. He was also profiting from.
See, he just said Chertoff that he didn't, because Chertoff didn't investigate it, but somebody who did help with that would end up being one of Trump's many lawyers.
Amazing.
That is that research. Does it, you know?
Yeah, maybe he forgot.
Equipment that was being manufactured for airports. He was also engaged with the Heritage Foundation. Michael Chertoff was at Covington and Burling. And they all went after General Flynn to convince him to be quiet in silence and take a plea. His lawyer Kellner.
Yeah, and Michael Chertoff had no problem covering up all the Arab arrests and all the extra hijacker cells. He had no problem. He could have said, "Oh, we got to make sure we get these fucking Arabs and Muslim charged." No, he didn't. He covered them all up.
September 13, 14.
Right, I mean, exactly. He wasn't. But the thing is like Chertoff wasn't overseeing that investigation. It was the Newark division. And yes, believe it or not, there was a Jewish, FBI head that oversaw that gave the clearance. But it's not Chertoff.
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
The slogans
they
keep
don't
going.
Even, it's like I said, even with their Jew county, they don't even count the right Jews.
Right, just like hurry up. Here's the Jew.
This whole law firm played a major role in the deep state operations against Donald Trump. I knew about this, and I reported it to Joe Flynn, General Flynn's brother, and also Sidney Powell before she was his attorney. I'd met them at a conference.
QAnon people, right? Right?
I'm not. I don't want to say it. No, it's not.
What? You're breaking up. You can't hear you.
I'm sorry. Right now?
Keep talking, buddy.
I sound better.
I was crackling, like couldn't even hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, you know why? Because I banged the table a little bit. Okay. He brings up the Q people. And he's going to bring this up prominently.
Oh my God! Well, all he had to do is start talking about Flynn.
Right.
Wasn't that the guy who did the QAnon thing with?
No,
with
that isn't that no, I'm sorry, you're right. That's I forgot about
fucking Q, dude. This guy's a QAnon propagator.
Yeah,
He's
he
like one
actually,
of the main ones. Yeah.
I did, yeah. I told you about the stolen election before we
Oh, let
Yeah,
this
he
go,
did.
dude. Yeah, this
Yeah,
is
I
I
know.
gave them my report.
great
I
way,
briefed
man.
them
Great
on
job, Richard
coming-
Gage. Oh,
But-
I want to bring on the guests that are going to threaten and jeopardize my account on YouTube.
exactly. And not only that, I want to threaten the deep state. Meanwhile,
Yeah.
they're covering for it.
to
Oh,
the
boy.
Burling and said General Flynn can't be represented by this law firm because of their involvement in terrorist financing and things like that. When Sidney Powell and Joe
Oh.
Flynn got this, they took it back to General Flynn. He fired his lawyers at Covington and Burling
Oh.
and hired Sidney Powell, who then contacted me. She then filed a motion in court saying we want everything exposed between Covington and Burling and the Department of Justice and how they were working together to undermine General Michael Flynn. And the moment she did that, using the material that I gave,
God's sakes, man. I mean, it is amazing. And on top of this, by the way, all he asked was whether Dov Zakheim was the mastermind 9/11. Notice nothing so far.
the moment she did that, they dropped all charges against General Flynn because they didn't want this getting out, because it would have exposed the Department of Justice under Biden and Obama, working in tandem with this law firm Covington and Burling, connected to Dov Zakheim, Roger Zakheim, Michael Chertoff, Eric Holder, Lanny Brewer, Loretta Lynch. So the corruption of the deep state is all there in Flynn, in Trump, in Sidney Powell, and all of this stuff. I simply happen to be the guy who discovered this when I was working in the intel circles.
You're on the inside. I mean, I had no.
By the way, did he answer the question?
No.
And he's sitting there like, oh, my answer. He got it.
idea. You've written a book, right, Scott?
Yeah.
Is that hold up the cover? That is the cover?
Yeah, that's the cover.
What's the title?
Shell Game, a military whistleblowing report to Congress. This was originally my military whistleblowing report that I wrote when I was in U.S. Central Command, SOCOM, and then when I was thrown in prison, I continued, and I utilized all of the whistleblowing materials
Thrown
that
in
I've been
prison.
given by Swiss bankers.
What's that?
He said he was thrown in prison.
Yeah, I didn't know if he was arrested or not, but he said he was arrested. I don't know what for, though. I didn't even bother. I could look it up if you want. So,
Well, it sounds to me like he would still be working.
Switzerland and its terrorist financing operations, its unity with the Clinton State Department. Peter Schweitzer used a lot of that when he wrote his book, Clinton Cash. And it was one of the reasons that Donald Trump's team called me back to Washington in November of 2020, because Union Bank of Switzerland had been working with the Chinese Communist Party to purchase Dominion voting machines through
there it is. There it is. Dominion voting machines.
Yeah.
Maple Street Capital. So they called me back. I gave reports. I met with people that were behind the Trump analytics team, and gave them other materials too about the AFL-CIO and the communist leanings that were going to be engaging in disruptive operations in January. I mean, we were at the front of this whole helm, and it was amazing to see, once again, Union Bank of Switzerland unite with the Chinese Communist Party to buy an American voting machine company, or a company that was doing American voting, Dominion, and overthrow the.
What does this have to do with 9/11? Why doesn't he?
Oh, I know. I think this was all for Trump stuff. Now it's just getting
right. It's getting ridiculous at this point. But not that, like, I know what he's about. What the hell is he doing? Like, Gage, are you this ridiculously ignorant? I this is my beef with him. Like, I didn't know, and it all really came more clear for me when he was forced out of architects and engineers. I didn't know really much about Gage. You have much more experience with Gage than I do. But I always thought that he would be on the fence when it comes to 9/11 itself. I don't know anything about physics. I tend to stay away from it. But I never heard him say a ridiculous statement until he opened up his channel, and then the floodgates. Like, this guy went right off the cliff.
right off the cliff.
Man.
I can't. I'm shocked. I mean, I think people are just like they're they don't even want to admit they ever associated with him.
Yeah, I
think
was going to say, did you get that impression?
Yeah, I think some people are. I think that's how some people are feeling. When you're totally going this route after everything else.
I'm in shock. Like,
yeah, I'm amazed he really believes this kinds of crap. It's just like,
is it that, or is it, because I'm trying to give him an out. So do you think it's that, or is it because he's so ignorant about geopolitics that he'll believe anything?
I don't know.
Me neither.
I don't understand how you could be for so many years and then like, okay, maybe I should start looking into the history. I've done the science so much,
right?
Maybe I really need to see what the narrative the public are dealing with and how I have to battle that.
Right now, of course, in defense, I mean, yeah, the physics would be it's a much more consolidated, compartmentalized issue. Geopolitics is not. And it's very broad and expansive.
Well, here's the thing: the physics doesn't. The physics only kills. I mean, because we're talking about demolition theories and all that.
Right,
we're talking
right.
The physics only kills 20% of the victims.
Good point. You raised this before, by the way.
Yeah, I raised it in my film. I mean, when you realize everyone else was mostly killed as a result of the plane crashes.
Of the plane crashes, right?
The hijackings and the plane crashes, and. Yeah, it's you should be mad that saddened and mad that the buildings are gone, but they're still not the victims. And it boggles me to like, why such a operation if you're going to suggest it, why limit the scope to nanothermite, I guess it would be
Well, I guess
I'm totally forgetting.
No. I get
a
what
deep
you're saying.
state conspiracy.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And talking about the same thing over and over again for the past 20 years is, you lose the attention of the viewer and the listener.
Yeah.
How many times can he bring up World Trade Center 7?
I know. How long you keep talking about it? It's not like there's nothing. There's nobody dead. I mean, and they talk about, that's what I mean. It's like this, it's completely this building obsession. It's the obsession of that, then the obsession of the grief and the cover up and, of all those innocent people who died,
Exactly.
and, it's like one meme I was going to say is I was going to make, and it says, it was going to be a picture of Building 7. It says, "You did not fight the Iraq war over me."
That's a good meme.
Regardless if I come down from it, doesn't matter. I have no effect to the fucking Iraq war.
Exactly. Remember, it wasn't an act of war when we hit the World Trade Center. It was an act of war when we hit the Pentagon.
Yeah.
The plane that he claims didn't exist.
Yeah.
So election of Donald Trump. So all of this was known. I was flown back to Washington to give presentations. Where it is now, how it's being handled, how it'll come out is still in the process. It's anybody's game. But I see our role is to simply speak truth upon any platform that we're at, wherever we're at, regardless of the audience or the context, but to speak truth about where we've been, what we've known, what we've discovered, and how we assemble this whole matrix into truth and understanding and
typical Matrix. Come on, man. It's just like, dude, don't give me the Jordan Maxwell spiel, dude.
Does he reference just about literally every single crackpot we've ever
had? It's everything from yesteryear, and then it just completely, anti-Zionist, I mean,
exactly. I mean, I'm waiting to hear Ace Baker's name.
Make it digestible for the average American citizen.
Now, I didn't know who this character Fukuyama was. You mentioned him a few times. Tell us about him and why he's so important to.
Well, Francis Fukuyama was a professor of mine when I was doing my master's degree at George Mason University. He was in charge of the George Mason School of Public Policy, and he had written a book called The End of History. And he was one of the neocon Straussian leading thinkers that was used in justifying by the new Project for a New American Century, and the others, the neocons that from Bill Kristol, whose father was CIA, by the way, William Kristol, his father was CIA in the 1950s. So the connection of these people to the agencies goes back a long, long way. Francis Fukuyama was one of the academics that was used essentially to say, we know everything we need to know. We're at the end of history, and now we can go to basically the third world savages and enlighten them and train them and give them the economic tools to be Walmart custodians or Starbucks workers, and have an end of conflict, have an end of independent nation states, independent competing cultures, independent competing religions, and create a globalist humanity, a globalist Star Trek sort of utopia. So
that don't make no fucking sense at all.
What is it? I was just shaking. I'm like, what in God's name are you talking about? I was just going to say, do you think he's going to mention Paul Nietzsche by name?
No.
Probably doesn't even know who he is.
That was the intellectual rationale. But to do that, you had to go across to these Middle Eastern countries and conquer them. You had to.
And by the way, one of the few people that knows about Paul Nietzsche is right near me, Nelson.
Yeah.
And, talking about the reshaping of Eurasia, even predating Brzezinski, was Paul Nietzsche.
Yeah, he was really. Yeah, that's right.
I mean, God's sakes, man. I mean, everybody, even a layman in geopolitics knows it. And yes, the neocons that we experienced under Bush, that came from the Leo Strauss school. But guess who they really were mentored by?
Him.
Paul Nietzsche.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And he was a banker. He was an arms, dealer. I mean, he was already doing it before, before Israel was founded. It's like he helped push. Yeah, he may have conspired with others, internationally, and helped shape things to the way they are.
Right. The hell with the Council for Foreign Relations and Brzezinski's view of the Middle East. That took a back seat when it came to Project for New American Century, when it came to the Oded Yanon plan, because Brzezinski said, oh, that's not going to work. But these fucking ghouls like Paul Wolfowitz and Richard Pearl, those are ones that fucking matter.
Pearl.
Especially
Pearl.
Yeah. So that's what we're talking about. Do you think he's going to mention those guys by name? NWO, Illuminati.
Destroy their apparatus and their various forms of government. You had to go through and take them out, root them out.
Or how we got tricked into going to Iraq by a lot of Israeli firsters and a lot of
bingo. I was just going to say whose outlines came to fruition. Was it, say, the Wolfowitz doctrine, which is basically a neoconservative doctrine, or was it Brzezinski's grand chessboard?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, God's sakes. I mean, even Wesley Clark, when he went on Democracy.
And Alex Jones would throw out the Brzezinski stuff just to try to make, it's still the Democrats, still the Democrats.
The leftist idea of socialists, they're trying to take over.
The only time, let me tell you this. A lot of people don't forget. I know Adam Green always liked to point it out. The one time that Alex Jones says, isn't it bad enough that Israel had fingerprints all over 9/11? Okay, he said that once. He said that I was actually listening to it live. Okay, and this was in 2009. And you want to know what the rant was about from Jones? It was Jones pissed off basically that Obama won, and he was picking all his people in his cabinet, and he chose Rahm Emanuel.
Right.
So that's what he was reveling on. Like, oh, I got a Democrat Jew, I could pick on him. And so that's where he got to that part. He was trying to pull in a Democrat left narrative into the 9/11 conspiracy cover up, the whole agenda and everything. That was his poor attempt. Not that I like the manuals. I mean, I know a lot about it too, but that's just a cheap concoction.
Exactly.
And that's the only time he says it. Throughout all those years under Bush, he never said that. But then, Obama
Only
comes
then
in.
until Obama,
Yeah.
right?
And democracy. So that was the original
Figure.
impulse behind going to Iraq. And yes, you had the Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu coming over to the American Congress and lying to them. But this was part of the big project for a new American century. Netanyahu was involved, of course. Silverstein, who owned the Twin Towers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Again,
Go ahead.
how are they involved? I'm just saying, if I'm Gage, all right, I got to stop you, Scott. How are they involved?
Mhm.
This guy's allowed to just steal everything. And of course, he's doing exactly that. He knows he's not going to be challenged by Gage because Gage doesn't know what he's talking about. So he's going to give you everything. This is why I think this particular video is so, it's such a perfect picture of the 9/11 truth movement, because he brings up every single fringe conspiracy that me and you have been dealing with for the past 6-7 years.
Yeah. Absolutely. And it's funny, they always go back to always BB and then Ehud Barak. Well, what about, okay, I'm not saying that they may have known, because that's like, believe me, but that's some of the older history we talk about.
Right.
But it's like, what about Ariel Sharon? Hello? It's like, you guys never even say.
Never heard of him. Never heard of him.
You guys never mentioned. I mean, yeah, he died in a but that's like, yeah, I think it was weird how he even acted during 9/11. He was told to, like, duck head for cover because the U.S. is being attacked, but he said, "Nah, I'm not worried about it."
And he's actually considered of the three, right? He's considered the worst of the bunch. He's more.
Yeah, that's what I mean. He's one of the old Likud motherfuckers.
Yeah.
Who double insured them. Silverstein, Netanyahu.
No, wait a minute. All right.
But don't forget, it's like Ariel Sharon. I mean, he was responsible for the Shatila massacre in '83.
Oh, is that right?
Oh yeah, he gave. They helped when they helped the Christian faction in Lebanon kill it, and then the Israelis gave them light. They shot like flares. They could get them light, and they killed like 2,000, 3,000 Palestinians.
Oh shoot.
Yeah. But I'm sorry. Go ahead. What were you saying?
No, I was just going to say he brings up the obvious, the 2.3 trillion that was missing. First of all, the money wasn't allocated properly, and also Rumsfeld didn't just announce it the night before. Actually, the Associated Press broke that story in March of 2000, and you could look up the headline. It's called "Pentagon Finances Don't Add Up," and it was from a 1999 fiscal year report about the Pentagon finances.
Oh, yeah. See, they're already saying it. They're already saying it in 1999.
Yeah, the report did. Yeah, that's what the Associated Press
continuation
article. I don't get it. I don't get it. First of all, if I'm Don Rumsfeld, why would I announce it at all? Why would I announce the money is missing at all? Yeah. Let the plane hit it and that's it. The money's gone. No, it's not. By the way, that report, it's no longer 2.3 trillion. Now it's like 13.8 trillion.
Zakheim. I mean, you could go on and on to the dual Israeli citizens that had connections here.
Okay.
But they were ultimately trying to take this project for a new American century out to the Middle Eastern countries, destroy the regimes, replace the regimes, enlighten the regimes, whatever you want to call it, to be translated.
Enlighten the regimes. Yes, I'm pretty sure Assad is enlightened. I'm pretty sure Muammar Gaddafi is enlightened. No, let's call it for what it is. They basically destroyed these countries because these countries had Western dictators, Western-backed leaders and dictators who were part of the Arab League, the World Arab League. And they wanted, what they wanted was to be ruled by Arab, outside of any Western influence. In 1953, Great Britain wrote a document called The Problem with Nationalism. It was talking about how to nationalize the oil in the Middle East. Arab nationalism was the predominant belief, ideology in the Middle East. What happened to it? Well, basically all those countries were subverted after 20 years. And what replaced it? Arab fundamentalists, backed by who? The CIA, the Pakistan ISI, the Saudi GID, right? With the foreign policy analysts that predicted all this of Israel, Saudi Arabia, the Gulf, the United States. Now we're talking about the big picture. But that's how they made it. And that's how you create the war on terror. Hey, look, there's Arab fundamentalists. Oh, we got to kill them. they might be attacking the United States. Well, in Libya, there was nothing wrong with Libya. Oh, Gaddafi's a dictator. Well, take a look at the country now.
Yeah.
Civil war, you got Al-Qaeda affiliates from Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula fighting over the remnants of the
And they
government.
brought slavery. They were slaving.
Yeah,
black
exactly. The
people in
slave
Libya.
trade. Right,
Yeah.
exactly. Syria,
Yeah.
what we talked about before. God
Yeah, it's
save-
like I tell people, like, yeah, I get more upset about the whole thing with Libya now more than I do with Iran, just because of how developed and how much effort Gaddafi even tried to make relationships. I mean, showing up to the UN, the guy could speak English. The guy, it's
let me ask you a question.
yeah.
Who is the first government official to have an arrest warrant for Osama bin Laden?
Muammar Gaddafi.
Bingo. Isn't that something?
Yeah, and you top it
Yeah.
all off with that 2 months before we issued a arrest warrant after
Right.
I forget when was it. Gaddafi does, and then I gotta be curious, like why did they do that? Why did
Right.
the U.S. follow suit?
Why didn't they? Why didn't they?
Yeah, but why did they? 2 months after Gaddafi, it's like
Yeah,
they
exactly. Right.
yeah, it's like
Exactly.
why weren't you doing it before Gaddafi?
And why were they trying to assassinate him
Yeah.
in the Sudan? That's the CIA tried to anyway, but they got rebuffed by the Clinton administration. But that just makes you wonder. All these, what I brought up before is like all these leaders of these Arab countries and these Muslim countries, like Gaddafi, like Assad, they hated one thing in common. They hated Arab fundamentalists. They hated the Wahhabists. So did Saddam Hussein.
Yeah.
What happened? Yeah, goes figure.
Yeah.
Look at all those countries now.
Into pro-American regimes. And with that, they would control the mineral resources of the Middle East. And with that, they would control China and Russia. And with that, you'd have America becoming again the Grand Wizard of Oz, and everybody else a mini Lilliputian, Munchkin world.
Why?
And I don't think it's ever worked out the way they anticipated. And
That's
actually, it's caused
delusional.
more bloodshed, chaos, and injury than anyone would have dreamed. And the biggest victims of this, I think, are the American military, because the American military members that signed up to serve, like myself,
And not the other people we end up killing.
We got to think of us first.
Yeah, we do.
With everyone else.
It's true, but I mean, yeah, you just
And by the way, that's for war with Russia. Well, I seem to think that it was a Republican president that actually almost went to war with Russia, and that's Ronald Reagan.
Yeah.
And it was the Russians who downplayed it because what was it? The movie Hunt for Red October was based on that story about the Russian ship where there was 3 generals on the one submarine, and 2 generals said we got to hit the Americans. And the third one, who's considered the hero of the world, who basically said no, and they needed 3 generals to say yes to launch a nuclear strike on the American submarine. But they found out that the signal was computer error. They thought the Americans shot at them. And the 3rd general was basically deposed by who? The Soviets. So he retired broke, and I think he was depressed, but he saved the world. This one guy. It wasn't Reagan. Sure wasn't American.
I gotta watch that movie again, man. Because I was too young when that came out. I just don't remember. Yeah, I gotta watch it.
Yeah, I love that film, by the way. It's really good. Really good film. A lot of heavyweight actors in it.
Destroyed, ravaged, cripples, our families broken up, our children orphaned, and it is the greatest crime against humanity that military members have the duty to stand up, because we took an oath to the Constitution, not to the president, not to the Congress, not to the American flag. We took it to the Constitution of the United States, because we created that Constitution, our forefathers, and we are standing upon their shoulders. And the Constitution is our heritage of freedom and rights and liberties, and that has been trampled and destroyed by this endless war, which is totally illegal because the president doesn't have the authority to wage war. Congress does. But somehow we've gotten through and forgotten that. We've also put on the Patriot Act that is justified imprisoning people, taking away their rights without due process. So the country is in dire straits.
Put out by a Republican president, and
exactly.
Obama even ended up like doing away with it.
Yeah, he reformed it to the Freedom USA Act, I think.
Oh, okay, that's what it was.
It's
Yeah.
Yeah.
quickly falling into a communist left-wing dystopia of retards.
Yeah.
And those of us
Sound
who
like
are
Alex Jones.
My
And while
God.
Richard laughs, wow.
Yeah, Richard. But by the way, we have no love lost for the left. By the way, kids.
Yeah. Well, he's laughing away all that left, anti-war support that was all behind AE for so many years.
Unbelievable, right?
Even
And
his
good point,
even
good
his
point.
former right-hand
Good
man,
point.
David Schlesinger, who's he's even a climate changed activist. He believes in global warming, and
That's a great point. I didn't even think of it like that. Like
Yeah.
they were a big backer for architects and engineers.
yeah.
That's a-
projecting all of that, or finding ourselves being labeled, quote, domestic terrorists by the Biden, Merrick Garland, hysterics that are wearing masks and want America to degenerate into a mindless communist state of failure. So I
Mindless
think
communist state. Wow. I
Where,
don't know how that works.
right. I want to know at what point in any period was the United States considered even liberal?
Yeah.
Never. And it will never, ever be left. It will be more right than anything. And I think in the future, what we're going to see is a combination of both extremist ideologies from the left and right into one. So what we'll have is what I've always predicted was that in the future, what we'll have is basically someone who isn't part of the system, but has created a system of authoritarian and totalitarian and fascism into one that we haven't seen before. So in other words, I always link it to like, what we'll see is the Stasi say the Germans in the 70s and 80s mixed in with that fascist nationalist ideology of 1935 and forward.
Yeah.
So that's what I think is going to happen, because the NSA is actually the most powerful agency in the United States. They have everything on every single American. And on top of that, let me tell you something. The Pentagon and the State Department, where did they get their people from? The prospects, the future. Liberty University. I ask you, ladies and gentlemen, is Liberty University a left-wing school? No, it's not. It was created by Jerry Falwell, who's an evangelical nationalist. So, and by the way, there are no like socialists in the Pentagon. There's no socialists in the private military industrial fields like LG3 Technologies or Raytheon and Boeing. These are all nationalists. And I'm not blaming just the right. We have a bunch of people who are actually authorizing authoritarian principles, which we're seeing currently.
And the funny thing is, there's always this misconception. They always try to say that communists are always, anti-gun. They want to take your guns. But dude, I've talked to people who are, or seen them even comment from other countries, and they're conspiracy theorists and communist truthers or whatever. But they say, no, we're very pro-gun. We're, it's like, no, it's very martial. There's very, there is militancy behind, the communist thing. So it's just like, it doesn't make, all their accusations makes no damn sense at all.
Now I know you're familiar with this. When Obama was president, one of the first conspiracy theories that came out of it was that Obama's going to go door to door and collect the guns.
Yeah, but that's why
you have
Sandy. That's why people were so obsessed with Sandy Hook.
Right.
They thought that was
good point.
Yeah, that's why. That's exactly why. But then here's the thing, and then they're like, "Oh, it's because the Jews want to take away your guns."
Right.
The Jews actually make the guns. You're actually making
Right,
it more
right.
money. Like if you're actually trying to, protest or boycott them or whatever. No, you're not. You're not helping.
Why would there be a lack of guns when they need all the guns?
Yeah.
They need to make manufacturing of guns, because by creating more guns, you create more crime. By creating more crime, you help who? The private military industrial complex, the courts, the police, right?
Yeah,
So
that's
there
why
you go.
Alex Jones is an asset to all that stuff.
Right,
How can
exactly.
anybody not see it?
Exactly.
There was
Right.
even Wolfgang Halbig, the Sandy Hooker. There was a connection that he was getting some connection or some communique going on with either NRA or Rifleman Association. I forget one. I think it was NRA.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, shoot.
Dude, I mean, Obama pushed the gun sales so fucking ridiculous in this country. And it just all started escalating after Sandy Hook, after every fucking shooting and stuff, you know?
9/11 is not just about 9/11. It was both the end of America, and it's also the beginning, the way back out of the abyss. Because your work, again, Richard, is you have established the physical science, the integrity of the science, the integrity of the architectural engineering equations and the logic and the reason. That
You are
when
not a
assembled,
demolition expert.
Why is he even talking about like these things?
Yeah, it's doesn't matter. He's not a demolition expert.
Right. I don't.
forms
And by the way,
the
now that you bring that up, Nelson, and I know you're going to get a laugh out of it. The one demolition expert that the truthers love to bring up is the late Danny Jowenko. By the way, what does Jowenko say about World Trade Center 1 and 2?
Oh, he says it's not demolished. He says that he doesn't believe that they were demolished. He doesn't believe there was explosives.
Right.
The only building 7. And then, but of course, what they don't show you is that Jowenko believed that building 7 was rigged in a few hours.
Right.
On that day, you know, afterwards, he says it.
Right, because he actually doesn't know that World Trade at first, when he first sees the building, he goes, "That's a classic demolition." And the truthers don't actually like to be genuine in that the guy is telling them is, "Hey, listen, that happened on September 11th." That Jowenko doesn't know. And he says that happened on September 11th, and he says, "Well, it would have been very, very hard." And
But it could be done.
Yeah, it could be done. Right, exactly.
That's what matters.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
what matters. When Richard Gage is telling you, "Oh, it took 2 or 3 months to rig up building 7."
Right, but that's right. That's a good point. I forgot about that. Right, and Jowenko says it could have been done in a couple of hours.
Yeah,
under those conditions. Now, also, but I think the disingenuous part here is that they never mention Jowenko's opinions about 1 and 2.
Oh, of course. Those are
right.
the two disingenuous parts.
Right.
The 1 and 2, and the actual amount and time they can rig a demolition,
Right.
versus the complicated the obfuscation that AE and all of them put out there, like, oh, all this time and all this work and all this.
Right.
Like,
Right.
oh, you're not thinking in military terms. You're not thinking like a terrorist.
Exactly. Where the rush is going on right under those existential connections.
Please,
Right.
absolutely. The physical science form of the Rubik's Cube of 9/11. And with that being completed, the political side assembles and the military side assembles, the economic side assembles, and the media side assembles. And essentially, again, you're either on the side of truth or you're on the side of lies.
Well,
And those who are on the side of truth are also uniquely the strongest and the smartest members of society. Those who want
oh, really? Is that right? Probably the dumbest group of people I've met outside of the Antifa crowd are basically your group, the fringe conspiracy, Sandy Hooker, no moon landing people.
Yeah, you people are just, they're just a hair better than the Westboro church.
Right. The Phelps clan. Right.
be on the side of lies. They're the stupid, they're the ignorant, they're the lobotomized, they're the mentally dysfunctional, they are on all sorts of pharmacological drugs. I'd call them Democrats, but there are some good ones.
Right, exactly, right. The Democrats are evil. My God.
You know what? We have to come to a point where we have leaders standing up saying, like Moses did, you're either on the Lord's side, you're either on the side of truth, you're either on the side of science, you're either on the side of Richard Gage and Barbara Honegger and all these others, either on the side of reality, or you're on the side of lies and the fantasy that is going to be burned up very, very soon.
Oh boy, would I love to talk with this guy, because basically what he's trying to say is that, hey, we're right, you're wrong, you deserve to die.
Yeah.
Right. We got God on our side. This guy's everything. This guy.
This guy. Yeah. I'm like, he wants to QAnon. He wants to storm.
That's right. He wants to storm, and he wants it bad. And wait to hear him in the question and answer period, because the best part's coming off there.
That's not going to be comfortable. A comfortable place to be. You know what I'm really struck by, Scott, is your vision is a very positive one for the future. You're seeing
It's so positive future. You just made these accusations of our government, this Israel, killing and sacrificing 3,000 people in broad daylight, and that they got bigger plans ahead of us and all this. But that is such, I just want to let you know that is positive. That's very
Wow.
positive. You haven't, even though we haven't provided any way to deal with this and fight this and uncover it. You provide us a positive world. No, you don't, Richard Gage. You are selling Alex Jones's fear and depression. That is all you are selling.
the narrative fall apart, the deep state narrative. I'm looking for metrics, and I'm positive. I'm driven. I've got to keep going. I'm not going to stop, but I'm being asked all the time.
I hope no fake planes crash into you. I hope they don't kill you with no.
I think he needs to make up for the money that he lost with architects and engineers when he got kicked out by a bunch of no planers.
Yeah, but they weren't making much. I mean, he ain't gonna make anything out,
No, I mean
now, not with all the deplatforming and all that stuff.
Oh, so. God forbid, he's really going to be in a load of trouble in the future.
Yeah, prove to me that we're going to win this battle. I don't have much.
Richard, you just need to start selling the energy bottles. We're going to win this battle. just go to Joe's. Just make your own. Come up with your own, architects and engineers logo, and on your bottle of whatever, energy pills and
this
supplements and all that.
Let me tell you something. This actually told me a lot about Gage when he said this, because he's part of the lawyers committee. For those who don't know, he's part of the lawyers committee for 9/11. For him to say that he needed reassurance to know that we're going to win this thing, just tells me a lot. Okay, I think the lawyers committee for 9/11 inquiry is going to fail, and I've always said that before.
Of course,
because when you're run by a bunch of fringe conspiracy theorists like Honegger, like Jane Clark, and now Richard Gage, what do you think is going to happen?
Or even Meiswinkle?
Yeah, he's retired now, but still, he's the.
Oh, I know. I think he's still. I thought he was still involved, but
no, he's retired. Yeah, he's retired. He's gone.
Okay. Time in the mainstream media to point people at they're not covering us. I don't have one congressman who will stand up for me.
I wonder why.
Like they stood up for you. And on other issues.
That tells me a lot, that you even have fringe conspiracy theorists in Congress that think just like you, and they won't stick up for you, like Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Yeah.
What about the guy Gates, Matt Gates?
No.
No, is there more?
Use whistleblowing, we're looking for greater number. We're looking for, in 2007 and 8 and 9, I was all over this country.
See?
I did a 33.
Yeah, you were. Let it play. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He's right. He's right.
Documentary that I made, 9/11 explosive evidence experts speak
hosting
out.
Him everywhere.
I was in 24 countries.
Yeah.
And over 100 American cities.
What happened?
People started shifting off into chemtrail stuff, which they allowed the platform, but then what really killed it was the Osama bin Laden assassination, and then the co-opting of Occupy Wall Street. Yeah, because after that, there's just not very many. Like 2012 was maybe the last time you started seeing some big conventions. I know in Canada there were 2 of them and all that.
Yeah, that's right.
Gage. Yeah, that's the way it was at first. People were, Bush was still in office, to a degree, but even with the first couple of years, even with the lack of an anti-war movement when Obama was in office, we were very active.
Right, and I was going to say you were heavily involved in that.
Yeah.
Before
But I know what he's talking about. They did press conferences. He came to LA for other things besides just doing his speaking engagement and stuff,
right.
But I came to the second time he showed up. The first year he was there, I wasn't. I had not been in the group yet. But then I
Okay.
just, but then, yeah, that's, yeah, I met him then. I met him several times afterwards and stuff. They spoke at a church in downtown LA. I forget where, but yeah, but you got to question. It's like, has he gone back and realized what killed it? Why, he doesn't think, he's not acknowledging these mistakes.
Yeah,
or any and all.
my God. I mean, I was just going to ask you, was he a different man back then when you first met him to now?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, he certainly wouldn't be able to say certain things like this. But then again, I think, these beliefs, I think, shaped just gradually got worse over the years,
Yeah, I agree. I think that's
just being in that group is an echo chamber itself.
right. Exactly.
And yeah, how he could, contemplate still that a plane didn't hit the Pentagon after Chandler, after Coste, after Ken Jenkins. I always forget to make Ken Jenkins first, really.
Right.
And then you say you're about science. It's like,
Yeah,
if you
exactly
can't
right.
get that, if you can't figure that out, then we shouldn't trust your analysis on the Twin Towers.
Right, exactly. That's a great point.
We should not trust it. If you can't get basic physics of that, then you suck at the Twin Towers. And he does, because they overdo it anyways. I don't want to get into all that, but yeah.
No, I hear you.
And I went to Kalispell, Montana last weekend. We had 100 people. That was great.
See?
I've been getting out there again. It's like old times,
That's nothing.
I'm going to Acapulco.
100 people's
as you
nothing.
Yeah, in the middle of nowhere, by the way.
heard,
No.
on this month, in 2 weeks. Oh my God. So I've, but I don't have a speaking engagement after that. We're making a great film, 9/11 crime scene to courtroom.
Mhm.
But
That's like, why would you make a film about a courtroom that you are imagining when you can't do it in the real time?
Because it's a film about their struggle and their drama.
Right. Yeah,
it's
there
not
it
even a
is.
film
Bingo.
about the
Right.
evidence, about anything
Right.
new.
Right.
Okay. So there's so many things to
That's
talk
right.
about that they have never talked about, but they're saying our struggle to talk about our old position from 2007 that's failed. We're still like, that's
We're going to repeat talking points from 15 years ago and talk about it as a struggle in a courtroom.
it's our
Right.
it's our struggle. I mean, we're not going to change that position, not modify it, nothing.
I can't believe that they're doing this.
Yeah,
my
I don't.
God.
I'm looking for more to show our supporters that we really are on the precipice of a breakthrough.
No, you're not.
What do you see?
No, you're
Well,
not.
this is an individual battle.
Hey, wait a minute. If you're on the precipice of a breakthrough, why aren't you bringing this information to the lawyers committee for them to use? Hello.
Individual citizen has a role in this fight.
Get
So
outta here.
no one has a right to sit in their chair or pop popcorn into their mouths and expect Richard Gage to be Gandalf on a white horse coming over the side of the mountain, raising his staff and letting the sunshine melt down all the orcs of the deep state of the Democrat Party, as fun as that would be.
The
This is
Democrat
an
Party, oh my
individual.
God, 9/11 truth is a Republican cause.
I knew it. Right there, that's a good.
Yeah. It's a conservative movement.
Told you, it's a movement
right.
of right wing. Oh,
Me
my
too, I might
God.
add.
Give me a break.
Yeah, on the Republican side, I mean, some of the worst warmongering idiots are on the
I
Republican
mean, I guess
side
they're
as
perfect
well,
for it because it's like, well, it wasn't our fault that we flooded the Mujahideen. We didn't know.
Right, we didn't know. We had no idea.
When there was no hijacker, so it doesn't matter.
Why would we study the intelligence agencies infiltrating with certain radical groups if there are no radical groups to begin with?
This is an individual fight, and individuals should be taking, the materials, the videos, the books, the lectures, the podcasts that the scientists and engineers and the architects and the men of science have assembled. Again, science doesn't lie. You can
Wait a minute. That doesn't make sense, because to you, the science is lying when it comes to COVID.
Yeah. Oh, and the science was lying when it had to do with the magic bullet in the commission, in the Warren Commission.
That's
So
a good
science is a
point.
double-edged
Good point.
sword.
Right. Exactly.
You
presented
need
in
witnesses.
Right. Exactly.
a scientifically, mathematically sound format that no one can disagree with, because it's not speaking human language. It is speaking the hermeneutics of the natural universe. It is speaking.
What are you talking about? Evidence is basically the science of ascertaining what is true and what is not. I pick up a piece of paper. I'm actually picking up a piece of paper. I'm not ascertaining the creation of the universe.
Evidence of the man-made corruption here from the British falsely reporting that the Building 7 had collapsed when in fact it had not.
That came from the reports on the ground at the fire department when Chief Daniel Negro, the infamous Silverstein, we were going to pull the building. Well, Chief Daniel Negro and Chief Frank Carruthers, they actually gave testimony in the World Trade Center 7 versus Con Edison civil suit, in which the residents of the building actually sued Con Ed because I think it was basically, they thought the damage of the World Trade Center 7 came from either a generator or a boiler or something like that. And they actually sued and they won. And what happened was all these fire chiefs, basically, I think it was like 7 of them, and basically testified that they heard the building listing in mid-afternoon and that they set up the collapse perimeter. Now, all you have to do is Google World Trade Center 7 versus Con Ed 2002, and you get it in PDF form. Actually, the PDF form is free only on, I want to say where I got it. Oh, that guy, what's his name? That interviewed you, Mick West. Mick West. I got it from Metabug. Somebody actually referred me to that forum where I downloaded the whole trial PDF in PDF format. And you could basically see it. All these fire chiefs are basically didn't hear any explosion, didn't hear anything other than the building listing and the damage in the southwest corner, which you could see on the corner, the missing piece of the World Trade Center 7. And they said by 1 o'clock, they were told by an unnamed engineer, don't know his name, that the building was going to collapse in 5 to 6 hours. Okay, because there's no water running, so they couldn't put out the fire. They had to evacuate, and the fire, the building collapsed. Now, I'm not saying that explosives weren't used. I don't know any better. Okay, I'm not saying maybe a bomb could have been at the bottom of World Trade Center 1 and 2. I mean, there was a news report by Rick Sanchez that he got from, that report from NBC.
Yeah, there's a lot of witness accounts for that.
Yeah,
there's actual witness when it comes to that. Yeah.
Right. When they said all the van was packed with explosives that they found, and it was a white van, by the way. But no, you won't hear this with the
reports of engines being found by the Twin Towers that were from a different plane.
Wait,
there
it is. Right?
Whoa, CGI engines?
Right. So that's right. And by
or what it is this. That's what it is. What it is this. Right. I know what this is. The plane crashed with CGI, but then a truck came by and they dropped the fake engine on Murphy Road. That's what it is.
Right.
It's just like there's this one guy and he literally put a video. From the North Tower when the plane hit, on the back end, one of the steel 6-ton grids fell down. And there was one of the wheel wells from the plane, right? Yes. Okay. There's a guy who says that entire fucking 6-ton piece was fucking planted.
What? I never heard that before.
Oh, I have. I've heard it all, Adam.
Wow. That's a new one for me.
No, there was dropped off a flatbed truck and just dropped right there with the wheel.
And by the way, in front of thousands of people.
Oh yeah, they even try to say, look at the way the latches are bit. They're not bit the right way, and they're like, yeah, dude, yeah.
That is awesome. By the way, the CGI. I didn't think of that in the other video. I was like, wait a minute, CGI. Oh, wait a minute, that's right. See, he doesn't even believe in a plane. So how do you get the engine there?
Yeah, explain that woman who got who almost got cut in half by the plane, the plane landing gear. There was a woman that on the street that got hit by the piece, like cut and almost cut her in fucking half.
Oh, I don't know that story.
No, there is a story. Yes, there is.
Is
There's
it right?
a woman, yeah, she went to the hospital. You know,
Oh, what,
I mean,
what about? Oh, now that you bring this, I'm glad
Joe
you-
Haley always talked about that one.
Really? Oh, I like Joe Haley. By
Yeah.
the way, you just reminded me of a story. The guy Stanley Pramet of the South Tower. You know that story of Brian Clark, Stanley Pramet. Stanley Pramet's on the 83rd floor. He works
No.
at Fuji Bank. Well, he
Uh-huh.
says he saw the plane coming right above him.
Oh yeah, yes. I've
and
heard
that
of these.
he ducked and he saw the plane crash into
Yeah.
the 84th floor. And he's one of the very few people that survives because
Yeah.
Brian Clark hears him yelling and he drags him.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah. By the way, did he see a CGI plane or what?
No.
Or is he in on it?
The absence of plane parts at the Pentagon,
Ah,
and the
Yeah.
impossibility of
oh,
a plane.
I'm glad you
The
brought this up. because-
absence of plane
Yeah.
parts, not
Yeah.
not even trying to question the authenticity of plane parts, but there's just none.
Right.
Not even on the lawn, even though there's an American Airlines fucking skin of a fuselage. No, that's not a plane part.
And I'll be interviewing the incident commander of the Pentagon. this week.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to
So,
that.
yeah. By the way, they did manage to find plenty of plane debris, just not in the large pieces that you think is going to survive after a
Yeah.
plane goes at 563 miles.
Just
an hour.
not that the parts of debris that you've been convinced by loose change to deny.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Crushing into the Pentagon without having, all the debris that would have been found. The physical evidence doesn't lie.
You are a liar.
So the individual needs to gravitate and anchor themselves to the science.
Oh, by the way, just I don't want to still pose, but in just a minute, listen to what he says.
And the physical evidence to firmly compound their emotional, mental, and psychological and spiritual gravitas to carry them to the next plane. Because when you understand the science and the physical evidence, then it makes the political, the informational, the military, the economic all the more translatable. Because you could see, the physical evidence is telling the absolute truth. And with this, we know the government explanation is false. We know the National Institute of Standards and Technology is false. We know the Indian guy that was running that National Institute of Standards and Technology was a liar, and he should be prosecuted as a traitor. We know.
I know what you're talking
Pentagon
about.
and
Shyam Sunder, by the way.
Yeah,
That's his name.
Sunder. Yeah, it's him.
But listen to what he says.
the military that were there, and the cover up that was done.
Oh.
All of this begins to lay a shadow over the government's expectation. Now, the American citizen should be going into their churches, into their schools, into their veterans groups, into their women's groups, and waving a flag saying, you have been injured. Your children have been injured. Your rights have been injured. Your country has been injured by this false flag event, this psychological operation that, yes, it occurred in 2001. It started before that, but that was the flashpoint. On September 11th, 2001, the greatest crime against you, your family, and your future was conducted, and you have been suffering ever since. You've lost your rights. You've lost your children if they've been in the military, or your family, or whatever.
Okay,
Now
that
that you
part,
know you've
some
been
of this stuff
injured,
is all kind of true. Yeah.
Yeah, no, right. But wait for the hammer.
Yeah.
what are you going to do about it? And every church, every American institution, as de Tocqueville would say, that everyone should be running to their small network of community organizations and community
Yeah,
bodies.
we did all that, dude.
We
We did all that, just like when Gage was talking about the high life of doing all the. We did all that. Where were you?
Nowhere.
Herald to speak this and to say, we have to expose this. We have to talk about it in our town. It all starts with individual towns, and then individual town talks to another town, and then the county.
You know, it's
and
funny. He's talking like we've never had a conspiracy theorist president for office.
Oh, he's not going to mention my name. He's a supporter.
Yeah. I mean, he's like, this is a struggle. QAnon, when it was popular, all these other things, there's no struggle. Like, these people already know. But what do they know? They know garbage. They know garbage about 9/11. They have a ridiculous shadow government expectation. This guy's making it sound like we have all these obstacles. No. You think it's hard to get the left and Democrats on our side over this? They hate Bush. The crime happened under a Republican.
Exactly.
Well, how fucking, I'm like, who does this guy think he's trying to fucking fool?
I don't know who he is.
No, it's just like they're acting like, oh, we're so hardcore. Like, that's what I feel. We're so underground. We're so unique, you know. No, you're not.
And to think that he doesn't realize that although truth movement needs to go to town, well, you tried that and you failed.
Yeah.
That's how you take this back, county by county, state by state, town by town, person by person. And those people who don't want to listen or don't care,
and
or
what
just
is
want to eat,
did you know a third building, Phil? What a great way to start. Yeah,
right, the slogan.
eat their Cheetos,
slogan,
watch
right?
football.
Is that how you're gonna do
Fine.
it?
They have the reward. You don't want anything to do with them anyway. That's the great culling and divide and tribalization that's happening in America right now. These idiots who are running down the COVID path of self-destruction lemmings, let them go. You don't want anything to do with them. You want people to be associating with you and friends with you and family with you that are hungry for the truth and do not want to digest lies. And you know, this is where the whole COVID thing is awakening people, but 9/11 is even more important than that, because we wouldn't have COVID if we didn't have 9/11.
There's nothing wrong that you said there.
Introduced this whole mentality of fear and the Patriot Act. You remember the world before 9/11? It was a happier, healthier.
I agree. Facebook. He's pushing the right buttons.
Okay, maybe here, but abroad we were conducting operations. Abroad.
Yes, you're right. You're right on that. Yes.
Give me a break.
Twitter, it was a happier, healthier world.
Look, he's right about that, but we were naive, and that's why we ended up
exactly
ended up happening.
Yes.
Yeah, it was better. I mean, dude, $1 gas. You know, I mean, I'm so mad at myself that I didn't even do enough road trips and stuff. Go really out of state in the 90s. Because gas was so goddamn cheap.
Better music.
Yeah, better music too.
Better films. Yeah, better sports.
Nobody was on their iPhones.
Right, nobody. Right, exactly. That's a great point.
You carried phone books. You carried phone books.
Exactly.
Now I see it as becoming a very sick, schizophrenic world, present company excluded. And I think that's the virtue that we have as old timers. And I know I'm not quite as old as some in here, but we still can call ourselves old timers when we remember a world before 9/11, before the internet and all this other stuff. It was a quieter, healthier world. So people need to be engaged individually. They need to get shows like yours, Richard, and your presentations, and take them to their churches and take them and start, ministry
churches?
groups or start.
That's your limitation is churches. That's
right,
it.
Right.
I don't know. How about a homeless shelter or something, or I don't know, something like, something else communal besides something that's behind organized religion. There's so many things to,
but that's the right wing. That's the fringe right wing, right? A Christian nationalist country.
Just community groups. The word
I have no
out
problem.
there.
It's like, it's like I have no problem with having gay people in our community. It's like in the movement, we've had someone before. It's just like, there are plenty of different ethnicities, different, minorities and stuff to even bring, that was one of the things I always had noticed. I'm like, in the beginning, I'm like, well, shit, where aren't any of these documentaries and stuff that we're getting, in Spanish, even from,
good point. Good point.
Right. And I thought even with Alex Jones, I'm like, so what if they're here? They don't like the Federal Reserve. They don't, because I thought that was the whole conspiracy of everything. I'm like, well, they're here. They might as well know they're getting screwed, whether they're legal or not.
Right.
So why don't we have all these things? I mean, like Zeitgeist puts it all in different languages, but none of the other, the film. So I always thought that was always, a sign.
I never thought of it like that, to be quite honest with you. That's a great point.
And I would end it by saying, act like a soldier, fight like a soldier, fight like a team, fight like an American. There's a great quote from Braveheart that said, when William Wallace, I'll say Mel Gibson, was on his horse. He said, many years from now, because he was saying, will you fight? Will you stand up and fight? Will you stand up and fight for exposing 9/11 and prosecuting those? That's our question. Will you fight for 9/11 truth and justice against these traitors? And most
Yes,
people
I
say,
will, but
no.
not with a tinfoil sword.
Yeah, you're going to be on the wrong side of history.
It's like,
If
I
it
don't
was
want,
up
I'll
to
go
us.
out there, I'll battle, but I don't want no tinfoil like suit and armor.
Right. Or like the chicken on the what's it, that movie, Holy Grail?
Yeah.
Brave Sir Robin ran away. That's this guy.
We'll run and we'll hide. And that's where the quote comes in. Yeah, run and you'll hide.
No, that's not the quote. First of all, no, he never even says that. The quote you're trying to make, which I knew right away, was he runs before the contingent of the Scottish, and he says, and dying in your beds, you'll be going back into this point, regretting the chance to fight against the enemy when you could have your freedom. That's what he was talking about. I don't know what he was talking about.
And you'll live for a while. But many years from
There you go.
now,
That's right.
dying in your beds, would
That's
you be
right.
willing to come back here, trading all the days from this day to that, to come back here and tell
Right.
our enemies, you may take our freedom, but you'll take our lives, but you'll never take our freedom.
Right, right.
People need to be saying the same thing with the same gravitas and grit and warrior mentality that will justify them having the American freedoms that we have. If people don't stand up and fight, if people don't stand up and say 9/11 was a complete fraud and we have to expose it and prosecute it, if people aren't willing to do that, then they're not worthy of being called an American. They're not worthy of having the freedom that our forefathers won from us from the British in 1776. And it is only a matter of time until they are masked and vaccinated to death after a life of pettiness and slavery and every other evil abomination that they're trying to infect us with. Now is the time people need to wake up. And I think 9/11 is really the spark that can ignite the powder keg of awakening, because it doesn't go away. You can't disprove it. And the science and the architectural
How explosive
engineering,
of him.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Formulations and truths that you've revealed, Richard, those are going to last until eternity itself starts. So I'm absolutely confident in your scientific integrity. There's a lot of pieces and move. I know there's a lot of opinions on different stuff. That's fine. We don't know everything about when it happened, how it happened, every dimension. We don't know all of
You
it, but
do. You said Zakim did. You said the plane debris is fake. You said all these other things. What if we don't know? Then why did you say?
Right. You just blew the cover off the lid. Also, I wonder if they took it out. Remember, I was telling you about the hammers about to drop.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
I may have got. Yeah, this is what I was talking about. In the live video that I watched, he basically said that anybody who covers up the truth about 9/11 at the Pentagon deserves to be executed. That's what he said.
Well,
He said
he's
that.
not. You think he may have edited it out then already?
Yeah, I wonder if he says it later.
95% of it, and really, that's all we need to know. It was a hoax. It was a fraud. It was a lie engineered for military political conquest purposes with a absolutely, I would say, a demonic impulse, an evil impulse that has been the greatest crime in the history of humanity. And if there's one people on this planet that should stand up as truth speakers and be fearless and be confident and be bold and be optimistic about revealing the truth, because we didn't have anything to do with this. We didn't plant the charges. We didn't engage in this psyop. We were victims of it. We came to discover it, and your professional expertise and credentials have elevated the truth, as has Barbara's and many others. And mine, coming from where I'm at and where I've been, I've elevated where I can. We're all lifting this up, and the American people have one choice. You either look at the truth that's being raised up by Richard and you help him by funding and aiding his work, or you turn away and ignore his work. But guess what?
I'll do
All
the
of
other.
that,
I'll do the
work-
later.
Yeah, I think I'm all in on the latter.
Yeah.
I'm not going to help him because
Yeah.
helping him is actually helping the fringe conspiracy theorists
Yeah.
cover up the actual crimes of 9/11.
Yeah, exactly.
So you're in actually, Scott Bennett and Richard Gage, I would say on my behalf, that the both of you are to blame regarding the cover up of 9/11, not from the FBI, CIA, that's another matter. You two guys basically don't believe in hijackers. You don't believe in planes. You think the debris are planted. By the way, when you do this, you basically absolve the CIA, the NSA, the Israeli Mossad, Saudi GID, Pakistan ISI, anybody who's actually affiliated with any type of foreknowledge, let alone complicity regarding 9/11. Because guess who was actually aiding and abetting the hijackers years before 9/11? Well, it would be the intelligence agencies that allowed the attacks to happen to take place without any air defense whatsoever in the United States. And that's exactly what happened. And why did that happen? So that we can have foreign policy analysts from Israel and Saudi Arabia and the State Department have their foreign policy plans come to fruition 30 years later. Those outlines were created well before the event even took place, but needed an event for it to transpire. That's Project for New American Century. That's the Wolfowitz Doctrine, later became the Bush Doctrine. That's Oded Yinon. That's all these foreign policy analysts. They don't think like you, Scott Bennett, you're like one day down the road. They think 10, 20 years down the road.
Is going to come crashing down and crushing you. All who turn away from this are going to be crushed under the weight of deception that is what 9/11 is. Not us. We're revealing it. We're
No, you're not.
exposing it.
No, you know.
And if we don't do it, I see the end of this country. But
We'll do it. Us two, right here. We're actually doing it. We're actually doing it. And thanks to the help of you two freaks, right? And thank Barbara Honecker and Jason Burmis and Christopher Bolin and Pals for 9/11 Truth and Citizens Investigation Team and Judy Wood and Rebecca Roth and all you other frauds out there. Craig McKee, Andy Steele, Jane Clark. God say I can name 50 more.
CIT, Jim Fetzer.
Yeah, there you go. God sakes, all you guys for years.
Sheila
15
Casey.
years. Sheila Casey. Adam Syed and Adam Raw. Oh my God. I mean,
What's
all
his
you
name?
guys.
The Dan Hanley.
Dan Hanley. I mean, God, good sakes, what you guys did was you took the truth movement from its infancy and destroyed it with years and years of misinformation and outright lies about 9/11. And what you did was basically you created a movement, and the movement's over here because it's hitting rock bottom. And it's rock bottom because here's Richard Gage, who's an alleged expert on physics, who now enters the geopolitics. And who does he interview? Does he interview Nelson? Does he interview Ryan Dawson even? Does he interview Paul Thompson? Does he interview Ken Fenton or Ray Nowinski? No, he interviews the following: Barbara Honecker, Adam Eisenberg, who? And Scott Bennett, who?
Not even
Nope.
Sybil Edmonds.
Not here. Abby Martin, Robbie Martin.
Yeah. Great people.
Get
Those
them
are
up,
good.
right.
Exactly. Yeah.
Great. Any one of these people I just named, where they could talk about rationally and with evidence and cognitive rational ability to explain to you.
And not even Anthony Schaefer. You've interviewed him. He's not even bringing him.
Right, Anthony Schaefer, Mark Rossini, God's sakes. I mean, look, I'm a nobody. I'm nobody. And I interviewed, Ken
Yeah, I
Williams,
know.
Mark
You,
Rossini.
you're the work you've done for over the year. The fact that you've been able to reach and obtain these people tells me more and more how much of perception management 9/11 Truth is, because it's like nothing is being done. Nobody's going out there and taking charge to question these people, to reach out. No.
Right.
And when it's a prime example. Yeah, you say you're a nobody, and it's like, I'll acknowledge that because you've come up, and I don't even do the things that you do. I just hide behind my documentaries doing narration. Don't really show myself and stuff. Except when we do things like this.
Right.
But the fact that no one else has been able to do this, and for how many years? It's just people. It's just an echo chamber. It's just a bunch of viewers, just entertainment for these people. They're not serious.
I wonder if it has to do because Mark Rossini's FBI, because Anthony Schaefer's Defense Intelligence Agency, with the truthers that basically generalize and say all of them are liars anyway, not realizing that these are whistleblowers.
That's that I know. It's wondering which ones that they'll decree as whistleblowers and ones they think that are working for the establishment. But when you have Schaefer, I mean, he's appeared in a lot of these other documentaries. I don't know. I think that's some of it. That's part of it too. But fuck, try to reach out to one of these people, see what they say. But they don't do it. They don't bring it. Yeah, there's nobody coming up and making these interviews, making their own podcast when they can do it.
I try to tell people, I usually do this, is that I'll tell my audience that, I'm lucky to have. I tell them, listen, I don't want you to just follow me. I want you to hold up your channel, to write articles. I try to push them.
Yeah.
I mean, you've done the same thing too.
Yeah, that's why I have my archive channels. I have all these news clips in hopes that other documentary, they're going to find things they can make a film on, even if it's just eye candy.
Right. Because you're making it easy. You're doing the work. You're making it easy for the future people.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to hope to too. Exactly right. That's it. And that's how you build a movement, by the way, Richard Gage. That's how you build a movement, an educated movement.
It's empowering. It's all about
exactly.
But they're just about empowering themselves. That's it.
Yeah, exactly. Bingo. Then you know what? That's a full stop.
Confident because Americans are the one people.
Get my poster, get my coffee mugs.
Yeah, exactly. Give me the money. Then that's exactly what did Scott Bennett just say? He just said everybody who's actually on the side of truth should be funding Richard Gage, not that they should be learning from Richard
Gage. We've already funded Richard Gage a long time ago.
Years.
We saw the fruits already. We've got
exactly.
And have the grit and the moxie to stand up and say, 9/11 was a false flag lie, and it was a crime against humanity. And I hope every SOB that was behind this is tortured to death after due process of law. And I'll be the first to put a bullet in their head in a firing squad. I'll say that on any internet.
Wow. And yet I get a strike on my channel, and I kept it G-rated. This guy's willing to kill you. This guy's willing to kill you. I can't believe this video stood up. And it just goes to show you that YouTube don't watch these videos. They just basically give it a strike. So I don't get it. So maybe I won the appeal. I don't know. I never won the
national forum, because that's the way to redemption. Admitting our sin, admitting our fault.
He said Nelson, it's amazing, right? He said everything possible to basically get this video shut down by YouTube and delete Richard Gage's channel.
Yeah.
He said he advocated for murder. He advocated for torture. He said so many things which is basically disinformation about COVID and 9/11. Okay. It's still up.
Yeah.
Admitting our guilt that was done by the proxies of our political representatives, admit it so that we can have a new beginning, a renaissance in America. And I'm confident we will.
Sure.
Well, I'm confident in your confidence. And while I may be looking to the future for proof of those of the metrics that will show us that we're on the precipice, as you say, I'm just going to plod along. I'm going to make films to expose it. I'm going to travel wherever I'm invited.
Expose my struggles.
By making a fiction film.
Yeah.
I'm going to encourage my supporters who are 9/11 truthers, if you will. This is their issue. This is
Gene Laratonda. I'm not afraid to say it. I mean, my God, remember Michael Atkinson? Well, I'm glad that Nelson and Adam ain't here. God forbid we start exposing the real evil. No planes, no hijackers.
No, he got to the point. A plane could have hit,
with
you
a
know, but it
missile.
could have been a missile come out of it.
God sakes.
I'm
This
like,
is it. This is it. This is who you're catering to. This is it. And and then I'm told that the truth movement ain't dead. Meanwhile, I go to the 20th anniversary in Ground Zero, and I see only a group of maybe 20, 25 people. You tell me, years ago, and not wait a minute, talk about New York. You visited New York when there were hundreds of people, maybe even thousands of people that were involved. Now it's 25. That's not progress. Richard Gage, Gene, it's not progress. You're losing the battle because you give guys like Scott Bennett and Adam Eisenberg and Barbara Honegger validity by having them on these shows. And then you got the nerve to call me or Nelson the opposition over shills. Really, all you have to do is this: challenge one of us about any position we hold regarding 9/11, any position whatsoever. Now, when it comes to physics, don't talk to me. He knows more about physics than I do. Now, at the same time, why don't we talk about foreign policy, or we'll talk about the intelligence apparatus, or we'll talk about anything relating to the Pentagon, Shanksville, World Trade, whatever you want. Pre 9/11, post 9/11, you got it. No, you won't do that because you guys don't debate. You guys don't have a conversation with people who can easily show you that you're wrong. Now, Scott Bennett, if he ever watches this video, I'll challenge him anytime because it wouldn't take me more than 5 minutes to prove any position he's wrong. Computer-generated graphic planes, it wouldn't take more than 2 minutes. Show me thousands of people where they were lying, coerced, or forced to say that they saw the plane. And then I want to know who dumped all the plane debris. I want the evidence.
But yeah, prove a crisis actor for the first time because there's never been one proven.
Show me one.
Yeah, one within the context of a hoax, of a shadow government, alleged operation. Yeah, show me
the infamous crisis actor in which you always get wrong, which is what's his name, the Harley guy.
Mark or Mark
Walsh.
Right.
Mark Walsh. He's actually an affiliate for Fox.
Yeah.
He's
a radio guy. His name is Psycho Mark.
Right.
He has his own podcast.
Oh, is that right?
He's an Opie and Anthony affiliate.
Oh, shoot. Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, man. And he, by the way, the reason why he was down there, he lives right near Ground Zero.
Yeah. And his account is far further away. He doesn't, it's like, he was like in his living room or whatever, he could see it from his window.
Right. So did, what's his name? He was on the radio.
Yeah. That's the prime person Richard Gage has promoted as a crisis actor, basically. That's the one that he says, oh, this guy, was he scripted to go out there and sell the official version?
Oh, he says that?
Oh. Instead of Jerome Hauer?
Larry Silverstein.
Oh, no, because it's Jerome Hauer and Bernard Carrick is your second. Jerome Hauer was the one telling, you could say the 9/11 Commission report, if it's only going to be about buildings, what could be the Jerome Hauer report? Because he goes up on there and he just says fires and, probably bought it down, he's the person. Is that guy scripted? No. But why don't they talk about that guy?
They probably don't even know him.
And his offices, of course they do. And his offices of emergency management was inside Building 7.
Right, inside Building 7, that's right.
Yeah. And why? Because according to David Schlesinger, Jerome Hauer thinks Building 7 was a controlled demolition.
You said this before, that's right. You talked.
Yeah, he's told me. Yeah. David Schlesinger's told me he's met Jerome Hauer.
Yeah, and you wonder why they don't mention him.
Well, that's why. That's why they won't. It's like why say some guy on the street is selling the narrative instead of Jerome Hauer? Oh, you don't want to because you don't want to implicate him because he's your Building 7 buddy.
Good point.
Yeah.
Our issue. It's been my issue
point.
for 15 years. Not slowing down, not stopping. So I do know that we have a lot of questions stacking up for
Here it
you.
is.
So
great stuff.
I want to get them. to them. Do you have a few more minutes, Scott?
Happy to. Please go ahead.
Hey, let's bring in
Is the
Gail.
hammer going to drop here?
She's been.
Yeah. Oh man, this is the.
Is this when he's? Is this when he's going to say it? Okay.
This is the best. This is the best part of the whole interview right here. Man.
So patiently. Have you been collecting the goods, Gail? for
I
Scott?
sure have been. Yes, I have.
All right. This is great. Well, let's get to it then.
Okay. This first question is from Ray. He asked, Trump said on 9/11, quote, I saw this huge explosion. I happen to think that they not only had a plane, but they had bombs that exploded almost simultaneously. The question is, was Trump right about what he saw?
Oh, I think he was. I think Richard and all the 9/11 analysis has proven that explosions went off. The firefighters confirmed it. You saw the physical damage inside the buildings, showing that
Not even
some
answering the
charges
questions. Talking about
Yeah.
explosives in the plane.
He does this all the time, where he never ever directly answers the question. He goes off on a tangent. It's usually 10 minutes long, okay, approximately. But he never really answers the question. Now he may say the name Trump and like this, making it sound like he's answering the question. But this is also a classic psyop psyop manipulation.
been sent
Basic.
off. Individuals died, I think, too, from being impacted by the explosion. So what Trump said was accurate, and he did have access to individuals and engineers and builders. What he's done with it is another matter, but you can't run away from the truth. Once you
He did nothing with it. Didn't we just talk about this where I brought it up where he basically was going to blow the lid and he did nothing.
No, he went sword dancing with
Right,
the Saudis.
he went sword dancing.
know it.
And by the way, who was there?
Maybe Bin Laden family. Yeah.
Yeah, isn't that something? I
Yeah.
didn't even know that. I heard that from you. That's incredible irony.
It's with you. Now, how it's going to be prosecuted, there's always, a chance in the future. This is coming out in indirect ways slowly. And I know there's a lot of frustration. I'm one of the chief people that has a lot of frustration with this because I see so much damage that's been done to our country and our military in the world. But Trump was right. I think he knows he's right. And having been president, he would have had access to a lot more material. The problem.
How is that? Even if he was president, how did he get that material? What do you?
Well, the whole thing is if he's saying that there was potential at one point, but there became not. Well, that's because you idiots still kept following Alex Jones, and you got sidetracked with stupid shit like Pizzagate, which then just turned into fucking QAnon, and then you're chasing fake satanic child, pedophile rings and everything else, completely ignoring the Epstein thing at the same time, ironically.
Exactly. Good point. Yeah, exactly.
And instead of the movement getting their shit together, like a great way to get their shit together is stop listening to Alex Jones.
Period.
Right? Because the reality is that what made Trump look bad was appearing on his show, was basically harmonizing with the wrong kinds of conspiracy theorists. Now, if had Trump appeared on, for say, like George Norrie Coast to Coast, maybe that would be a little bit better. But he went to Jones, and you people stuck to Jones to get even his assessment on Trump, and and you stuck to drama and gossip. If you knew. If you knew Trump was somebody willing, if you had these contacts like this guy, Scott Bennett, or maybe even Richard Gage may have, because there is some evidence for that with former correspondence before he ran as a president. And it's in an article as well.
Right.
But all that was there. But people like you, Scott Bennett, you're the ones that ruined it with all your hogwash fucking conspiracy crap.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a good thing he said those things on 9/11, but when your ultimate conclusion is to say, well, shadow government and Larry Silverstein That's not gonna fly with him, especially when he even knows Silverstein. You know, and it's a raw. It's not a good accusation, especially when you look at things like the Millennium Plot, when you know there's going to be attacks already, and there's no Silverstein even then. Forget 1993. You know, and then it's like you could say he's more of a better premonition than Jones or Bill Cooper, because he did write in one of his books that we got to watch out. This Bin Laden guy may be bad news. He may try to bring attack us again. Bring down the World Trade Center again and stuff. But you guys won't acknowledge. They won't even acknowledge that either. They won't even acknowledge that. My point being is that you can talk about how great he was, but you people represent how you represent 9/11, your whole package. You're the ones that ruined it, not him. His followers, his supporters did.
That's right.
People like Hugh. You're the ones that ruined it. You got into the whole divisive stuff. You got into the whole culture war stuff. We don't need that shit. If we really are so serious and passionate of wanting to still turn things around and expose 9/11. We don't need to be attacking, the left. It's just just really funny. And I'm just saying this so people can hear it. I'm not saying these people are going to hear me, but I want people to, those that were jaded, those that felt disenfranchised either way, before or after Trump, whatever. It's on you, not him.
Right, that's right.
You people went and stormed the fucking Capitol after the fact.
Right, exactly.
Okay, after the election. Okay, you have better things to storm the Capitol for.
Easy. I've always said that. Right. Exactly.
Yes, and you agree with me, even for 9/11. So. I don't know what to say further than that, but that's just basically that's just my point. And it's like, it's the 4 years, that's what I mean with the divisiveness. It's
right.
Look, if you really wanted to keep him in for another 4 years and whatever, you shouldn't have been a prick to other people, or even your own family, because you just broke up families and stuff too,
Sure.
Calling people, snowflake and
Yes, right.
pinko and all these other. I mean, I don't want to hear the garbage from the 80s. It's just like you sound like the dudes that were happy with fucking funding the Mujahideen. We gotta fight them communists.
Right, exactly.
It's like, hello, you idiots ruined it. So my thing is, you could say election, you could keep howling to the moon about election fraud and all that, but what you should have been after, what you should have been fighting, is deception fraud, and that was the mainstream media, right. Demonizing him. It was good. Yes. Trump did some good things. He didn't really escalate us into another war. I don't like what happened with Iran at the end, but he was at least. He was telling the right people off. A lot of the people we hated, the neocons from the previous administrations.
Damn straight.
I think his biggest mistake was bringing William Barr. I mean, he was one of the worst ones. We just didn't know that because we're only taught the 90s, government intrigues and people, suspects and stuff. And that guy's from the 80s, really,
Yep.
But my point being is that you had the 4 years to do it, and you had to. You should not have been, replicate the ugly supporters like what the media was going after.
Right.
That's what they went after more, is like the loud, obnoxious, supporters, more than what Trump was even saying. So
right, and that's the biggest point you just made is something I've always believed in anyway, was that we're seeing it with the left now.
Yeah.
But we saw it under Trump is this alienation of the other side. What you just brought up before was, if you really wanted to create a movement, if you wanted to really shake up things and go after the deep state, what you should have done was done away with the disinformation, done away with the alienation, and got people on the other side to agree, hey, listen, do you know that there's a problem with 9/11? By the way, the left thinks about that too.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
But no, they didn't do that.
No, they didn't. They like go try talk to an Antifa person, for Christ's sake.
Yeah, exactly.
Go do, people tried to criticize, and I know what's his name. I shouldn't go off into tangent because we really got to finish this. But God, what's his name? Adam Kokesh.
Oh, sure. Okay.
You know, he one of the guys who was helping him do a film project or whatever. Kokesh went over to go talk to communists to go, share it,
Yeah, yeah.
And this person that was helping him out said, I'm stopping. I'm not. I'm like somebody who goes and go talk to a commie or whatever, I'm like, no, dude. He's trying to build his fucking network.
Exactly.
He's trying to fucking grow. He's trying to find that stability. What's the
commonality between
there's commonality, stability.
Right,
What's
yeah,
the other?
sure.
There's the other word. I forget. I'm just my vocabulary is shot right now.
Happens. You're getting older. You're getting older.
I guess so. I guess what that is. But solidarity. So that's the word of it. Solidarity. That's just like, no, people. I'm like,
Us versus them.
Yeah.
It's an us versus them.
But I keep feeling more and more vindicated as the years go by with all this crap.
And you will be. You
Yeah,
will. I'm telling you, you will.
What Trump was, he had a lot of bad people around him that were intentionally covering this up. Pompeo,
I don't like
Bolton,
but he told them off.
I agree.
Nikki Haley, all of these clowns,
John
and
Bolton.
these traitors were about, a neoconservative juggernaut of Bush.
Forgot Barr.
Second
Yeah, of course. The Saudi cover up, by the way.
part Bush. And I think Trump was steamrolled, and we yet to see how this Trump act is going to conclude.
Yeah, a lot of people would congratulate you for calling it an act. I don't know where I stand. I was hopeful that there would be change when Trump came in, because he was the one that said they had to have bombs or something.
There you go. There you go.
Confirmation he voted for him.
That's right.
And why did he vote for him? Because Trump fucking exchanged an email with him. But
I didn't even know that. I didn't know that.
Yes, yes. And what did you do, Gage? All those years, what did you do? Did you represent? Were you representative? Were you? No, you kept the same shit. Nanothermite, just your government, your shadow government nonsense. You were there preserving Alex Jones's narrative while the people were already, the media were constantly saying, well, where's Trump getting his intel from? InfoWars? You had Saturday Night Live making fucking skits of it, dude. And you want to stick to that?
Right.
You want to be just somebody who's going to be on banned video with Alex Jones now? You want to be in that disposition?
That's the roof for
the lives, the people, the grief, all that. It's not worth changing. It's not worth trying something different. Checking out other researchers. Right. That's not enough.
Right.
Do we need more blood? You need more terrorism or something? I'm like, I don't know.
That plane, those buildings wouldn't have come down. He didn't repeat any of that again after being in office. He did say while he was running, if you want to know who brought the towers down, elect me president. We'll find out who brought the towers down. Maybe you'll find it was Saudi.
Yep. Precisely.
Arabia, maybe. I wonder what was on the other end of that sentence, but we don't know. But not a peep. Not a peep.
Because you didn't do anything.
That president.
not Jeff. What is he complaining about?
Yeah. You ran an organization that's making $500,000 a fucking year. You have all this staff, all these people, you didn't do anything for those 4 years.
It was
what Trump did, Mr. Gage, the first year on the anniversary of his office? He held a big old ceremony in front of the Pentagon where the Flight 77 struck.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Maybe you should have been paying attention to that, Richard Gage.
This is a huge point, right? You just raised. The Trump administration, you would actually have thought that the truth movement would create the loudest voice, right? Not with Bush, because he was the one who facilitated 9/11.
Yeah.
Here's a Republican, real evangelical Christian. he's going to bring the truth to 9/11. That's what you did. Zip. Not even a peep. You released one film during that time frame, and that was that film by Architects and Engineers, which basically all it was the victims' families asking questions. This is what you got. This is your roof. And or as Nelson just said, your roof is being on band TV with Alex Jones. If that's the case, you're an outright failure.
He's choosing it.
Exactly.
He's choosing failure, consciously choosing failure.
Right, constantly choosing failure. I would agree. I would agree. And you know what? If that's the case, you were never about the victims' families. You were never about their grief. You were never about it. You were only caring about. You were only in it for the money. That's it.
Amen.
That's all you were there for. You know what? Your drive should have been the court.
Yeah.
End of story. And if you couldn't do that, at least educate your audience responsibly so that they can use the information and go to court that you couldn't get to. No, you didn't even do that, because what you did was, when you went on your own, you basically interviewed these people without doing any type of research whatsoever or any background about these people. Or if you did, that basically made you worse because you were advocating for known disinformation. That's what you did. And then you had the nerve to not even basically listen to what we have to say. You'll just look at us like the enemy because you listen to Barbara Honegger. Because Barbara Honegger thinks we're shills. We're the government. Meanwhile, I get rid of this background image, you can see my bedroom.
Disappointed me.
Yes.
And not the least of which was the characters that he brought in that you mentioned, that he alone needs to take responsibility for, those neocons.
Okay. All right. This next question is from Gene. Can Scott speak to the damage done in the deep state to the USA by G.H.W. Bush? Very broad question, but most overlook his role in the CIA as VP POTUS, father of a POTUS, uncle of Jeb, Marvin, and Neil.
Oh my God, the Likud connection. There was none under the, Nelson just brought this up. And this is all factual history. There was no Israeli connection with Father Bush.
Hell no.
There might have been more with Junior Bush, and he wasn't even an Israeli firster.
Never. No.
God sakes.
Yeah, the Bush family is an amazing Nazi-affiliated lineage.
No, yeah, that makes sense.
I
And that's
you-
going to merge with Zionism, right?
I knew it. I knew it.
Yeah, you're making total sense, dude.
Wasn't that in the that was in the interview with Barbara Honegger? I said,
Yeah, it's like saying it's like Alex Jones talking about Schwarzenegger being a Nazi. He's a Nazi, Nazi governor. Yeah.
Right.
What does he do? He does charities with Sylvester Stallone, raising money for the IDF.
Incredible. Zio-Nazis.
Yeah.
Here they
Zionaut, whatever that is.
Right.
Was identified at the Kennedy assassination, standing outside the book repository, allegedly part of the CIA team that assassinated Kennedy. I think that was incidentally, Richard, one of the fears that Trump had.
First of all, isn't that I defer to you here. Wasn't that like a conspiracy that he was in Houston and near the
Yeah. They think there's a photo of him.
Okay.
Because in the crowd and stuff. Yeah. I mean, because I don't know. Apparently they say he was there.
Yeah, that's
right. Okay. He's going to be assassinated like Kennedy by the CIA and others. But George Bush, senior CIA director under Nixon, that opened China up, by the way, and started the Chinese, overshadowing of America. Bush then became Ronald Reagan's vice president. Reagan didn't like him, didn't want him. And then interestingly, there's a connection between the the attempted assassination of Ronald Reagan. I think his name was Hinckley.
Hinckley brother,
was associated with George Bush Senior's family.
Neil Bush.
There's a friendly connection there. Can't remember all
John
the details.
Hinckley is out of jail now, and he records music.
No way.
Yeah, country music. Yeah, I'm following him on Twitter.
Oh my! He has a Twitter account.
Yeah, he got no fault. I mean, he don't follow nobody, but he's got like thousands of like Twitter followers.
Oh my God, I didn't even know that, man.
Yeah, he's you can find him. Yeah, he's on my, yeah, I follow him.
Oh shoot, dude, I gotta get with that.
The attempted assassination of Ronald Reagan. And then George Bush, of course, playing a role in the Panama overthrow for the drug cartel CIA that was running drugs.
Hold on. Stop that. And Israel was so happy with that. They were so glad you had to kick out, Mike Harari, the top Mossad spy, who was Noriega's right-hand man. How Zionist of HW to go after Panama,
Is that right?
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. There's photos with him. I mean, I got news reports and stuff. There was even a report that at first that our U.S. forces had captured Mike Harari, but he had fled. He had took off a day or two before. Yes. Yeah.
I didn't know any of that. So
that Zionist Bush.
Well, there you go.
Or through Panama as the money laundering entity. George Bush was behind there. Of course, Bill Clinton was involved in that in Arkansas. I wrote in part of my Shell Game report, there's a chapter in here called Deep Black. And Deep Black was a program that I exposed that talks about the CIA drug wars. This was a Bureau of Prisons training operation that the Biden-Obama Bureau of Prisons and Department of Justice were engaged in, trying to recruit people into CIA drug operations. And I reported that in Shell Game. But George Bush had a role.
Whoa, wait a minute. All right, you're leaving out a huge piece of history here. Let's talk about the crack epidemic in New York and Los Angeles. Well, that happened under a Republican president.
Yeah.
That's Reagan.
Yeah. Iran-Contra. He totally just went.
Right. God's sakes, the big one of all.
Yeah.
Iran-Contra. Oh, don't talk about those histories.
Oh no.
Role in, of course, the war against Saddam Hussein in Iraq, where Iraq had oil being stolen from them by Kuwait. And
first of all, that's not entirely true. That was a claim made by the Iraqi Foreign Ministry, where they said that the Kuwaiti oil drills were underneath the land.
Yeah, they were taking their deposits.
Yes, that's right.
Iraq had communicated to the U.S. that they were going to take action unless the U.S. objected.
Wrong again. So what's his name? April Gillespie actually goes to meet. I forgot her position. She's an American advisor, but I don't know the exact position. I was just reading about this something today. April Gillespie actually goes and visits Saddam Hussein and says, if you actually have any action taken against Kuwait, we will not intervene. And that, by the way, is not a conspiracy made by me. You can actually look at the actual transcript of the cable, which is released by WikiLeaks. But then again, if you're Scott Bennett, he basically thinks that Julian Assange deserves to die.
And the U.S.
Oh my God, he says that?
Yeah, he said that early in the video.
Had said, no, we will not object.
What a sick bastard.
And then that was a
he thinks that Assange should be executed.
Trap that they set for Saddam Hussein, and they sprung the first Gulf War to again begin this process of replacing the Middle Eastern regimes, which was part of the Odin and On plan. And then, there's a lot of child pedophilia allegations associated with George Bush Sr., Dick Cheney, of course.
I never heard that before. Is that right?
I've never heard that too, but they've tried to say that, and it was like with the Johnny Gott, not Johnny, or forget his name.
Vigilante intelligence.
No. I'm talking about that. I'm talking about somebody who was kidnapped, and they tried to say it was this other guy that was doing a male brothel thing online, and they were saying that he was originally this kid that was kidnapped and was like part of the Bush, ring, I guess.
Yeah.
It's just bullshit. It's just
I've never heard anything like that.
Force was working with George Bush Sr., as was Donald Rumsfeld. So this neocon Nazi pedophile gangster family
doesn't exist.
What is he talking about?
God!
This is similar to Pizzagate almost.
Yeah. This Islamo
Yeah. Right. Those
this
slogans.
Islamo Jesuit.
Yep. Yes. Yeah. But
what mutated.
This
up until,
Afro-Norwitic
George Bush Jr.
conspiracy.
every slogan you can find, it's right here. It's right here. It's right here.
The walking drunk retard from Texas was planted in to be the puppet, so Dick Cheney should pull the strings, and Halliburton and other defense contractors would be the beneficiary. So we really have been in a slow destruction. I would say it really quickened in the 1990s when Bill Clinton came into office. That's when America really started to wither and corrode, and then it was quickened to the 9/11 hit, and that's why people kind of tried to vote for Barack Obama thinking things would change. It didn't. They voted for Trump because ultimately they saw a departure from the traditional establishment is the only way forward.
No, they just voted for a sexual sadist narcissist nationalist who actually was against the official establishment. Whoopee-doo. What he wanted was a real fascist dictatorship where he would be the overlord. Well, the Pentagon, who's actually the real fucking power, along with the CIA and the foreign lobbyists, they fought back. And guess what they did from day one? All over the newspapers, which I'd never seen before, and I live in New York. The Post, the Daily News.
Oh, I know, it was ridiculous. We have boomers flipping out, man. It freaked out boomers.
I never seen anything like it. Never seen anything like it.
Never in their life. Never. Not even Kennedy got this kind of trick,
Nothing.
None of it. That's what I'm saying. These people did not combat that. They did not know how to deal with that power of the media, from the Pentagon, from the CIA, from the lobbyists, from all that. Exactly.
These dummies could have just basically went against the grain and said, hey, listen, the real powers are on the other side. No, instead, you didn't challenge it. You just went off and just sloganeered everything. And it's all, this Judaism and this fascist, this authoritarian nightmare that doesn't, the whole NWO Illuminati spiel, when all you could have just said, look at the authoritarians that are behind this, and then looked in your own backyard and said, get out of here, you nationalists and garbage, whatnot. You could have built a movement on that. No, you didn't. You basically didn't say anything, and you raided the Capitol not by the pittance you got in the stimulus checks, not by the job loss that created under the COVID mandates. No, you went under the stolen election.
Yeah. These people just let Antifa and Proud Boys grow.
That's exactly correct. And that's a mic.
And I think that
unbelievable
that chapter is still unfolding.
You wonder if that was made on purpose. That was done on purpose.
Yeah,
I just wonder. Just
good point.
Awesome.
Now you mentioned the replacement of the Iraqi regime. When you use the term civilization replacement, what do you mean? I've never heard that term before.
Well, essentially it would be, for example, an analogy or situation would be, in America, we go over to India and we bring over Indian engineers to work at Google or work at, one of the computer companies. So we take an Indian from India with a thick, rich Indian accent to work our computer codes. And then we gradually acclimate, him a little bit, but we can't do much with him. We can influence his children. So the Indian engineer that comes to America has a child, and that's where we can influence the child and brainwash them with the American modern educational, LGBT, political correctness, worship the environment, all the left-wing sort of ideologies are impregnated into the child of this Indian engineer. And like then we have Rokana.
Unless he goes to private school.
Yeah.
And then he gets, the Catholic right-wing ideology in him.
Yeah.
Give me a break.
People like that come out.
Well, no, go ahead.
No, it's just as these people where they have their own conservative view of things, and it's just so kind
narrow?
of just it's very narrow.
Very.
So it's an example of.
Wait, who's Rokana?
He's an Indian congressman out of Fremont in California that is far left Hillary Clinton sort of.
What does this have to do with 9/11? I'm stunned. I'm stunned that Gage doesn't even interfere. He just lets him go on.
Sort of person that the Democrats cultivated, and he was, he was a son of Indian immigrants. So the civilizational translation is we wanted to go over to the Middle East and take out their indigenous accent, their indigenous myths and religion and lore and traditions.
What?
We wanted to gradually sort of put a magnifying glass and shrivel those up or burn them out or outlaw them or create alternative, poles for them to gravitate to around an economic life. So we wanted to replace the religious civilization of the peoples of the Middle East with an economic civilization, which is what Francis Fukuyama and Leo Strauss and the other neocons have always been about. It's a world where religion is taken out of the human organism and replaced with an economic, libertarian, egalitarian, can't we all get along? We're all the same. It's a world where, humans become sterilized of their religious,
so you want chaos.
spiritual.
What in the God? Yeah, right. Exactly. That's the option.
The other option is chaos. Yeah.
You got that. You got that in Syria. You got that in Libya. You got that in Yemen. Those are all U.S. sponsored.
I mean, he was even basically trashing libertarianism. How weird.
Unbelievable, this guy.
Yeah, this guy's a totally
uniqueness or personality traits. So that was
who are you working for,
replacement.
dude?
Yeah, right. At the end of the video, I was like, "Yo, this guy's still doing psychological operations. Right? It's just got to be."
It's almost like
yes.
One of those old 1950 horror movies where they take out a person's brain and put it in a different animal entity or robot. That's what we were theoretically trying to do to the Middle East. And
no, we weren't actually. We were trying to replicate the Soviet Union new Cold War, where the war on terror would be continuous. That's all. And it would basically fund who? The Pentagon and military industrial complex, and benefit the foreign lobby institutes of the Gulf and Israel. That's cool.
We didn't realize
want to get rid of religions, right?
Right.
That's exactly what they use to pit against people against, each other.
Unbelievable. Right. Exactly the point.
That's the tools of war.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Isn't that the excuse they did with the 9/11 Commission? Why did they attack us? And the FBI agent basically told the truth. And he said, well, they attack us because of our foreign policy with Israel. That's what he said. That's the truth. That's the truth. It wasn't about freedom.
The skull of the Middle Eastern personalities is impregnable. You can't take it out. As all mankind have that, unless you're going to forcibly put them into a prison camp and gradually indoctrinate them. But that was what they did with Afghanistan too. They went in not only for the poppy fields, but they went in to try and inoculate out of people the Taliban sort of influence. And what happened? They just kind of bided their time. They didn't bow. They didn't coerce. They didn't abandon their pinnings. They instead eventually outlasted the United States and then quickened their counterinsurgencies to the point where the American people said, we need to get out of there. And they threw the American military out.
Speaking of which,
you can't win here, Chris, because you basically say that the United States shouldn't need war, but yet you are mad because the United States left Afghanistan, which was the biggest waste of war in my lifetime, probably ever. 20 years, longest war in American history. It was a failure.
Yeah.
Abject failure.
We still have those Americans that we left behind there, right? I haven't heard anything talked about that.
What do you talk about? Even CNN reports that.
In the mainstream media since we left.
Yeah, terrible amount of Americans, translators.
Fox even reports that.
Yeah.
My mother watches Fox.
They're upset that we left Afghanistan.
Yeah, I can't believe that. What a waste. This guy will have you there for 100 years.
It's like come. I mean, it's like. Is it all just about hating the Democrats and just Biden?
Right, in spite.
It's like, dude, if Trump would have won, the same shit would have happened, and you wouldn't have been complaining. You'd be like, "Oh, look, he's ending everything." The criticism they should have with Biden is like the asshole, yeah, he got us out of there, but he's
Right.
one of the assholes that put us there. And then some.
And advocated for the war.
Yeah.
God.
He covered up extra
international
hijackings.
populations that were there. That the thing is, the Taliban
What?
and the presence over there, they are not the bloodthirsty hooligans and of 2000. If you
Wait, this I related this also in the previous video. It didn't fail. First of all, the Taliban is from the Hanafi school of law. Okay, it's still the Taliban of the 2000s, and I can assure you they're just as brutal as the Taliban of the 2000s. But on the same time, I'm not going to waste taxpayer money by having the U.S. military fight there on a country which is nicknamed the graveyard of empires. No foreign nation has ever beaten it. And it's not like the Taliban are an existential threat to any other country. They just want Afghanistan ruled by the Sunnah and the Sharia. That's it. I don't care. What do I care? All of a sudden, we're going to care about what women care about in that country when basically we are the reasons using the CIA to depose these countries and their dictators and the leaders. And now at the same time, they're now governed by the very people you helped back because they overthrew those dictators, which are the Salafi Wahhabist terrorists. So much for the war on terror and so much for women's rights.
will, they're returning their country to reestablish an Islamic identity, culture, and
who cares?
civilization.
Okay.
But they're not the bloodthirsty, skin you alive
Yes, they are.
maniacs that the West tries to make them into. There's
Huh.
the Russians
Well,
have an embassy there. The Iranians have an embassy there. They've been mischaracterized to a large extent in order
be
to
nice.
justify our fear.
You're talking about Kabul, all right, the capital, where every eye in the world is there. Well, you're going into the northern parts of the Taliban in these remote villages. There's warlords there that never saw a TV in their life. Okay, these are people that don't live under the Western democracy values. Okay,
These are the I'm sorry,
yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Well, I was going to say these are the people that use a camel pissing to wash their hands.
Right, exactly right. Now, I'm not going to say that they're living a wrong way of value, the wrong way of life. There are some positives. I mean, they don't have to pay tax or anything. They don't have to live under a COVID mandate or anything like that. I'm just saying, but they don't have a Federal Reserve or a CIA. You know what I'm talking about? But no, I mean, I look at some of their values, like they're allowed to do child marriages. Well, guess what? In Alabama, the age is 16. I think most states in the United States, child marriages can be arranged. I think it's like 28 states. Don't count me on the number, but it's a majority of the states. So I don't want to hear about women's rights.
Yeah.
It'd be nice if they returned the Americans that were stuck.
They were allowed to leave. They made a deal with the damn official that went there, and he basically talked to the Taliban ministry, religious ministry leader, and he basically said, "Well, listen, before you take over the country, can we get the Americans to leave?" And they made a deal, and they said yes. And then that's when Islamic State Khorasan decided to, come in and basically try to blow up the Kabul International Airport. You heard about those stories.
Yeah.
And they basically did. But, there's a lot of people that stood because they have nowhere else to go. They can't come to the United States. By the way, those linguists that you used for all those years, you guys basically left those guys behind because they were Afghani. You took the Americans with you. But because they helped you, and they did, you basically left them behind. That was under, I'll blame both Trump and Biden.
There.
Well, we made overtures to do that. There's a lot of military guys that were influencing, Middle Eastern TV and Middle Eastern channels, Iran, Russia, and we were saying the Russians and the Iranians, for example, need to go in with buses and get these Americans out. The Taliban would let it happen. But the West was blocking that. The State Department and the Biden administration didn't want that. They want to turn Afghanistan.
Whoa, time out. Nelson just brought this up not too long ago. It was Trump who basically created that mess with Iran, with the International Atomic Agency and the nuclear deal. Who revoked the deal? Was it Biden? No, it was Trump. That's who revoked the deal. That's who Trump, and basically another mistake by Trump administration was to have Iranians on your side, which you said the Iranians had all this information about 9/11. Guess what Trump did? Basically said that the Iranians were the exporter of the world on terrorism. Where was he, as Nelson described? Dancing with the Saudis and the Bin Laden family in the sword dancing thing.
Into a civil war conflict.
That's
So
who he's
again,
from.
the military-industrial complex can make a profit by supplying arms to both sides.
Wow.
They
There's
have
a
been for
piece of
decades.
psychological
Decades.
warfare.
Nothing new.
That's huge. Just we can blame them, those bad Taliban, for not releasing the Americans. They become like the Iranians who held the American hostages.
No,
Back in
nothing
the
like
70s.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, we want the opium to be continued too. So the Taliban have destroyed the opium trade.
Already?
What? First of all, that happened under Mullah Omar in 1999, and he only destroyed 10% of the crops, or like 15%. Guess who was actually the biggest drug runners in Afghanistan? It's the Taliban. And by the way, it's not just the Taliban, it's also the neighboring warlords in the Taliban, as well as in Afghanistan and Pakistan. There's a place called the Freedom Bridge, which is a connection between Pakistan and Afghanistan. And by the way, guess the city that's right nearby, where our two friends used to live in, called Baluchistan, which is a nexus hub for drug running and gun running. And guess who's always there? The CIA. By the way, who's from Baluchistan?
The KSM family.
There you go. Boy,
Well,
what a
they've
what a
begun the
coincidence, by the way.
process. You know, there's pockets everywhere, but they've begun to they've begun to centrally outlaw it. But you know, the American CIA and they've tried to be a disruptor in order to keep the shifting sands of disruption a constant in the political stabilization of the Taliban. So that is always the modus operandi of the American CIA, is to keep civilizations in a condition of shifting sands rather than allowing them to cement a foundation to grow their culture, because money is made that way.
Well,
Yeah, I mean there was a lot of money in the drug trade, as I've heard, and has been documented by the UN. The drug trade coming out of Afghanistan. It's I don't know how they can keep some control. I guess the drug lords who really control a lot of the land where the opium is grown.
Oh my God!
It's actually
Arabs. Arabs actually exist now, and for Richard, wow.
Right. Oh,
Are
now
you sure they exist? Are they sure the Arabs exist in Afghanistan?
Now they
Richard?
exist. Actually, it's called the Helmand Province, Richard, by the way. So
Because the
It's
Taliban
wild
doesn't-
Indian. It's wild Indian territory.
Is
You
it?
got the Blackfeet, the Sioux, the Apache, the Taliban,
Oh.
all these different tribes and stuff. They fight and hate each other and all that, and that's why American CIA wants it that way. They don't want a stable, singular, Indian state, Indian nation. They want all the tribes and warlords fighting each other so they can take advantage of the vacuums.
Yeah.
You do that with religions.
I mean, wow. Okay. Right. Don't you have that here in the United States? You, for example, you're probably an evangelical or you're a Catholic, right? You wouldn't like very much, what do you call them? The Warren Jeffs people, the Mormons, or you wouldn't, right? You know what I'm saying, right? They're not the real Christians, by the way.
Ones who are growing for the CIA would be able to continue doing that as well. Interesting. Sorry, Gail. Let's go to our next.
No problem. This question is from Jean.
All right.
Can Scott ask Tucker Carlson to re-interview Dr. Stephen Jones and actually show the 7-second clip?
Boy, what a question.
Is that Jean Laurentana's question, bro?
Yes, twice.
Oh, he was so mean to him, and I like him. Oh, I was glad Tucker Carlson was like a dick to him. I mean,
he was also a dick to David Ray Griffin too. So
yeah, I thought that's who I was thinking.
Yeah,
well, that's right. He did that to Stephen Jones too.
Yeah,
but I like the way he was addicted to
David Ray Griffin. Yeah, that was better.
of
Yeah.
WTC7 that Dr. Jones asked repeatedly to play. Does Scott know why Tucker won't go there?
Well,
He told you, by the way. He even said it. I remember he says that he doesn't believe it was a controlled demolition.
No,
Why
no.
would he play?
It's because Gene, Building 7 is the gayest terrorist attack. It is. It's so pansy. He doesn't kill anyone.
He's more interested in the non-dead.
It's like, Gene. If someone died, maybe he would care. But when you come along, hey, look at this. What does it look like a demolition to you?
To his defense, he basically does say that, he doesn't study geopolitics. But at the same time, he does offer some critiques.
I can't defend that after being in the movement for over a decade or as long as he's.
I am not going to say that he shouldn't have.
No.
But I mean, to have this outright denial of saying that it doesn't matter. I was like, Gene, you're wrong.
Fuck you.
Yeah, you're fucking wrong. Show me a suspect for World Trade Center 7 outside of your Jew counter in Silverstein.
Yeah.
He's afraid. He's afraid because he knows, he's not a military guy, and he's not sworn an oath to the Constitution, so he doesn't have the same grit and the same ferocity as someone who's worked in the military or been in the government or the intel sectors who's sworn an oath to the Constitution. Tucker Carlson hasn't done that. He's an intellectual. He's sort of a he's a lightweight. He's
according to Robbie Martin, this is something I didn't hear before. According to Robbie Martin, Tucker Carlson actually tried to apply for the CIA. I didn't know.
Yeah, we talked about
country
that,
club boy. He wears his bow ties and all that stuff, and he talks like an academic intellectual, and that's fine. But we don't. I don't. This is a war. This is information war. This is a political war. This is also a kinetic war because a lot of my buddies got killed and destroyed with this war. So Tucker is afraid of.
And you ruined those names. And by the way, you ruined those names as well as the 9/11 victims by supporting and promulgating these fantastical tales about 9/11. Thanks.
Losing his job, losing his family. He's not got the same moral momentum in his soul to kind of carry this forward. And you can understand why, because his swing, if it goes out so far, the Rupert Murdoch types will just cut it out from under him and he'll be gone and it'll just show up.
Stop right there.
Right.
Here's the thing. If Gene was smart and like Scott just contradicted himself,
right,
he wouldn't talk about, we're looking to build the Mason overlord. No, he would say, hey, Tucker, why don't you go talk to your former Fox News reporter, Carl Cameron, and go see those fucking news reports from December on the Israeli spy ring.
Awesome point. I didn't even think of that.
And Rupert Murdoch's, and now here he is trying to say like, oh, well, they gave us a big bone back then.
God, that's a great point. Why couldn't he just say that? I didn't even think of that. Holy crap.
Tucker Carlson's show is now being called the Kill Mead Show, and we're never going to mention his name again. That's always on these media minds, that their lifeline will be cut off if they talk directly about these subjects. But
okay, now if that's the case, right, then you shouldn't act surprised or disconcerted when Tucker Carlson doesn't talk about 9/11 the way you want to talk about 9/11. Because according to you, you got the truth of 9/11. You know fully well that they're not going to report on it. So why are you mad? You shouldn't be acting surprised. You should be saying, oh well.
And again.
But that wasn't the case, right? Because what you just brought up with Carl Cameron, he actually reported on. And he reported on the company.
Oh, what?
The company.
Oh, Amdocs?
Amdocs. Thank you. Amdocs. He did try to report it. At least he tried to get that far.
The truth is the truth, and you either side with it and stand on it, or you side with lies and stand on that shifting sand.
That's you.
Which will inevitably swallow you up. So Tucker's gonna, he's got a limited life cycle. And this is something, again, the science doesn't lie, the facts don't lie.
You lie.
Human beings lie.
Yeah, you.
Or they try and run away from speaking at all. And Tucker's not going to be allowed to run away forever.
I gotta show science. Science show
Very
government did it.
All right. This is from Ray. Netanyahu said, "We are benefiting from one thing, and that is the attack on the Twin Towers and Pentagon. It swung American public opinion in our favor," end quote. The question is, was Netanyahu the 9/11 mastermind?
Oh my God. What? You guys think like kids. I swear.
Thanks for helping, BB. God.
Oh my God, what a question. I didn't remember this. Oh my, I mean, first it's Dov Zakheim, now it's Benjamin Netanyahu. I mean, can you make this any more glaringly obvious? Jew. Oh my God.
Well, I think it was built on Netanyahu's book, and I've talked with Kevin Barrett, who's a scholar on this, the Odin and On Plan, the Greater Israel Project that emanated.
Sandy Hooker. You told me that one. I didn't even know he was a Sandy Hooker. I had no idea.
Out of the late 1970s or early 1980s, which was an attempt to demonize the Islamic mind, personality, and religion in order to justify increased American unity with Israel, to pursue the Odin and On Plan, which was the expulsion and the destruction of Middle Eastern regimes around Israel to recreate the Greater Israel Project. So you have Israel increasing its geographic presence by 10 times. That was the theory, that all these little domino people, these little Bedouins and these little, Lebanese or Palestinians or Iraqis or Syrians, Israel could just kind of bully and push over. And Netanyahu and the neocon Zionist dual Israeli citizens like Sigal Mandelker, who worked at Treasury under Stephen Mnuchin. Sigal Mandelker, a dual Israeli citizen, was the one who put the sanctions on all of us Americans that were over in Iran, speaking and addressing a lot of these issues, including 9/11. So there's been a concerted dual Israeli operation in the American government to silence voices, to shut us down from being able to go to places like Iran and talk about 9/11. And the purpose has been Netanyahu.
It didn't affect Michael Collins Piper. He went to Iran, didn't stop him. But of course, nobody was paying attention to him.
No, they rather pay attention to his adversary, which was Christopher Bolin, which came later.
Yeah,
That's what they did. If they actually decided to follow or do the works or repeat the works of Michael Collins Piper, I don't think the 9/11 truth movement would have been as worse off. As
I agree. I know it.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
In a team of his operatives, trying to create a 9/11 event that the American military, the American people would allow their military to go on this adventure. So I absolutely hold Netanyahu directly responsible.
Wow.
And I think that the evidence is there.
Where?
And I also think they have miscalculated.
Say Meyer Dagon at least. Okay, I would buy that if he said that. Okay, I'd be like, cool, this guy's paying attention. Because Meyer Dagon was second under Mossad control, and he took over once Halevi fucking left, like a year after 9/11. Because it's like, Meyer Dagon got tipped right before the assassination of Imad Mugniya. How the hell did he get that intel?
Well, that means that would involve the Jara family, wouldn't it?
Amen. And which would require hijackers.
I was just gonna say. Right. The hijackers, which you claim don't exist, why would you look at the Jara family to begin with?
Yeah.
The organic nature of man and a man's ability to rethink things and have new evidence and new discoveries inserted into mysteries, and those mysteries are reassembled, juggled, and suddenly the puzzle pieces fit together. And they can never be disassembled, and that's where the Israelis and Netanyahu and these types think, well, we'll spring this on Americans, and we'll cause a war, and then we'll leapfrog into a future, and no one will ever remember how it began. No one will ever return to it, and that's been their undoing.
Yeah. Hold on, stop that right there. And no one will ever return to it, and this is because of all this right here. because of all this, because of just
Right.
focus on the fucking buildings.
There you go.
That's it.
And never leave.
And it's right. Yeah. So much, nobody even, a lot of time being bought. But there's there's been decades already almost wasted here.
20.
And
Can you imagine not leaving Ground Zero for 20 years?
yeah.
That's Gene Levitonda.
Yeah. Logan Airport doesn't exist.
No. Why would I look at that? Why would I look at the security apparatuses behind that? Why would I look at the affiliates helping Al Qaeda, which doesn't mean that they're Al Qaeda to begin with?
Yeah.
The extra hijackers, in other words, that you covered extensively. Does that, just because there's extra hijackers, does that mean they're Al Qaeda? How do we know? No one knows. Not everybody's Al Qaeda. Not everybody's promoting the 9/11 Commission report. It's not an us versus them mentality. Okay? For anybody that's on the Truth Movement watching this and you got this far, we're not against you. We're against people like Scott Bennett for lying to you. This is why we're doing these videos. Richard Gage is not helping you. Scott Bennett's not helping you. Barbara Heineke's not helping you. They're keeping you in a state of paralysis and belief where you can't go and do something about it. Can you imagine what he just said regarding that in the court of law? By the way, how do we know Benjamin Netanyahu is behind 9/11 or the mastermind 9/11? And he gave that answer. You know what would happen? The same thing that happened to April Gallup when she tried to sue Dick Cheney, Donald Rumsfeld, and Richard Myers, Joint Chiefs of Staff, along with who? Osama bin Laden and American Airlines. Oh, I thought she didn't believe in hijackers of planes. Well, according to her, I got to look out for my kid because if the other theories are true, then I got, I'm involved because I'm a survivor. That means, to begin with, she never really believed in the bullshit she supported about no plane debris found.
Yeah. She was just trying to find another scam, another court,
Exactly.
case, lawsuit,
Exactly.
to make money.
Exactly. That's it.
So if I could sue with a conspiracy theory, outlandish or whatever, so fuck it, I got time.
What does that sound like? That sounds like this guy.
An
over here.
opportunist.
Right, exactly. Sounds like this guy over here.
Because there are some Americans that are tenacious, that instinctively knew something was wrong, and they, by the grace of God, have begun to assemble all of their evidence. They've begun to work the Rubik's Cube and assemble a side and another side and another side. And this is causing an awakening. People can't disagree with the evidence that's been proven. So the evidence is carrying the water up to the nose of Netanyahu, and I think that's why he's going to be killed or assassinated or disappeared very quickly, as was a lot of these others that were behind it, because Americans aren't letting this go. There's a lot of people that have forgotten it, but there's a lot of people that this 9/11 event, Richard.
Wait a minute. Nothing you said just makes sense just now. You just said 5 minutes ago, there's an awakening of people getting to the truth. And you just said just now, not that many people know about it.
Yeah. Make up
it's
your
like
mind.
a star that's getting older, but it's about to explode. The energy that's pinching up over 9/11 is really, it's never been dissipated, it's never been forgotten, and it's never been forgiven. If anything, it has just been growing and growing and becoming more and more volatile, and it inevitably it is exploding. And that's where the internet comes in. The internet has provided the platform. We didn't have this.
Right. And you know what? I think Nelson could testify to this. With the advent of the internet, knowledge came around, but guess what also came around? The great fringe conspiracies that we've heard for the past 15 years. That's what happened.
In 2001, 2002, 2003, 2004, 2005. We didn't have the internet to the degree we do now. Now in 2022.
It was good enough in 2005. You had MySpace, you had all that. You had YouTube already starting up. No, it was already fine. It was fine in 2002, 2003 to get stuff around. I mean, unless you think people think the phone feature is great. I don't use a phone. I'm still using a home computer.
Same. Yeah. First of all, I think we could both agree that around those years too, the 9/11 truth movement wasn't as infiltrated with the fringe conspiracy theories. We still had Kyle Hentz and 9/11 Citizens Watch. You still had the Jersey widows still around.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
those people were still around. And Paul Thompson of historycommons.org, Kevin Fenton, who wrote the book Disconnect, those guys, God, I wish they were still around. What happened? They disappeared. They got replaced by who? Alex Jones, Jim Fetzer, Loose Change, Christopher Bolin, Rebecca Roth, Judy Wood, you, Citizens Investigate, all those people. That's what made the truth movement. And then they started eating each other. So who did they start eating on? The face of the truth movement in 2010, David Chandler, Wayne Costi, Ken Jenkins, John Wyndham, Warren Stutt, all those guys, right? You started eating your own. And that didn't stop there. What happened to Richard Gage, an architect and engineer?
Yeah, of all things.
Yeah, of all
on the
people.
eve of the 20-year anniversary.
Right, not even on the one before it.
Yeah, so I mean on the eve of it, right before.
They didn't even wait. How that's cruel. And who makes up the board membership of architects and engineers? Jim Spellman, Craig McKee, Jim Spellman, Andy Steele, operations manager, entertainment manager, Kelly David, the CEO. Guess what they have in common? No planes, no hijackers. That's who. That's who.
Steele's technicality. He doesn't care. He stays out of it. You know.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Well, he still supports Craig McKee.
Yeah, exactly. He helps it.
The deep state and their Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and all that. We have the opportunity to put information like this, recordings like this on a website.
You did.
And all of the world can come to it and view it and see it.
You
and
did.
Be permanently changed and enlightened for good.
You did, and you ruined the truth movement. That's what you fucking did. Thank you very much.
And in a way that they can never be darkened. That's the reciprocity of truth. When you put this out there with the internet and people, become one with it, and it absorbs into them, and it changes them.
You're the ones who gave us no planes. You're the ones who gave us no hijackers. You're the ones who gave us mini nukes. You're the ones that basically said there were nothing involving intelligence agencies. The Arabs are too dumb. The Arabs don't even exist. You did this, not the stupid left, not the centrists or the libertarians. It was you guys of the fringe right. You are the Alex Jones cult. That's what you did. And you ruined it forever. We can never, me and Nelson, we could put out thousands. We do. We have thousands of videos on our channels. We couldn't even get near the amount of getting over the hump because of what you people did. Never. That's why I'll never forgive Jason Burmis. I'll never forgive Barbara Honegger. Never forgive these people. Never. What you did was irredeemable in my eyes.
There's a quickening. There's a spiritual quickening too. God quickens people's souls.
You're a liar.
With this revelation of truth. It's sort of like Augustine's Preparatio Evangelica. There is a quickening effect. And that's the other component that the neocons and the dual Israeli Zionists, they've never accounted for God's role in the revelation of truth.
Man.
And he is revealing.
I'll tell you what, if he's going to compare these things to God and revelation, if he wants me to believe his God, he would need to build me a time machine so we can go back 2,000 years to the hill of Golgotha and watch the execution of Jesus.
Yes.
But he wants me to believe his religion of 9/11 where no plane hit the Pentagon. And I don't have to go in a time machine. I could just go to Washington, D.C. and talk to people who saw it.
That's right. For their own eyes.
Yeah. And that's my religion. That's the way I would conduct my religion, by proving it. Facts.
Sure.
And it's because that's exactly it. Keeping a 9/11 as a belief.
There you go. I mean, those are perfect statements to make right there. Perfect.
Great.
Awesome. So this is a question from Gene. How does Scott deal with being called a conspiracy theorist in conversation?
Oh, wow. How do you deal with being called a conspiracy theorist? I mean,
what a question.
I know. How do you deal with it?
Oh my God.
How did Trump deal with it?
Yeah, I wonder. How do you think? By the way, I think that question was meant for Gene, right? Because he's being.
I'm still scared to be called the conspiracy theorist. Really?
No, well,
it's
you're not
2022.
Right. Exactly. It's old hat.
Everyone's a conspiracy theorist, darling.
It's true. That is true. By the way, I think I can speak safely for you too as well, because you go through the experiences I do. We get called worse. We get called worse. I was called Hasbara. I was called a shill. I was called an operator. I've been worse. Worse than the conspiracy.
I get called Satanist still. I'm like, wow, it feels like high school again.
Well, I always approach it as an academic.
You devil worshiper.
There's a theory that's constructed of truth and fact, and that doesn't lie. And science and evidence doesn't lie. And there's nothing emotional. There's nothing personal. There's nothing human in the assembling of science and fact. That only comes when you personalize it or you try and make it an emotional issue, which is what the deep state and the left and these idiots like Sean Hannity and all these other guys at Fox News tried to do to people like Richard and
Wait a minute. Now Sean Hannity's no good for you. Meanwhile, Sean Hannity was the one who was interviewing Kevin Barrett.
Oh my God.
Sean Hannity and Combs, remember that?
Oh yeah.
God.
Oh yeah, that was a good
one.
Morgan
Reynolds is another one.
I mean, I like what Kevin said at the end. He knows you guys are spewing your venom and you know, but
that was a long time ago.
That was a long time.
God, was that 15 years, 16 years ago?
Yeah,
Professor and Barbara and Kevin Barrett and others who were initially bringing this out, they've always tried to say, oh, conspiracy theorists. That's a CIA term, of course. So, you know, I think they've exhausted these terms. It's almost like
of course they have. Duh, you dumbass. Who are you talking about? Trump? Give me a fucking break. Duh.
Wasn't that one of the main articles on architects and engineers written by that? I forgot that one guy. He talked about
right, is he Canadian? Is he a Canadian guy?
I'm trying to think of his name.
National Post, the right guy wrote for that.
It was written in 2010, and architects and engineers revisited the article, and someone from, I think it was.
Oh, I remember you talking.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Damn it! I forgot the guy's name. Was talking about the infiltration of truth movements.
Oh yeah.
Right. You know what I'm talking. I forgot the guy's name.
Trudeau, who's now sucking his thumb fetus position in Canada in a basement, has been trying desperately to say these truckers in Canada, you know, that have the maple leaf flag to go, hey, you know, we're Canadians, eh? They're trying to say they fly the rebel flag. They're flying swastikas in Canada. A Canadian ever having a swastika? I mean, you may be able to pull that over in, say, in Alabama or you know, but even that's fallen short. But Trudeau.
Wait a minute, Arab fundamentalists in Canada? Surely that can't be.
No, and these fascist authoritarians are so desperate, and they know they're losing because the truckers that are going to Ottawa are carrying with it the hearts of the people. They are now saying, oh well, they're racists and they're white supremacists, and it's just got no grip. It's got no grip. There's no grip whatsoever. So conspiracy theorists, it's just a silly term that you can easily defeat, because again, the internet, in 20 years of hearing the term negatively applied to you're a conspiracy theorist.
Cass Sunstein. That was the article. Cognitive dissonance.
Yeah. And my big point is that and my big point with that is that, yeah, Cass Sunstein, but no, not Morgan Reynolds.
No, John Lear.
It's like chewing gum that's lost its savor, or tape that's lost its stickum. There's no grip anymore to that term, because everybody has grown with the internet, and funny, all of the things that they've tried to label conspiracies have actually panned out to be truthful. So
nothing you said today was truthful. And every conspiracy that you raised, we can demonstrably say it was false and show it in under 3 minutes.
I always react with science and fact and evidence.
No, you don't.
And anyone who doesn't want to look at the science and the facts and the evidence is a fool or a liar and a government traitor that should be executed. And I don't have any problem being that upfront and
wow, right down a little bit, right there.
Unbelievable.
Or a liar and a government traitor that should be executed. And I don't have any.
Let me just go back a little second.
Have actually panned out to be truthful. So I always react with science and fact and evidence. And anyone who doesn't want to look at the science and the facts and the evidence is a fool or a liar and a government traitor that should be executed. And I don't have any problem.
I can't believe it. I can't believe that's twice now. He's calling for the execution of people, and I get a strike. I can't believe this video is still up.
Problem being that upfront and personal and say, this isn't about opinion. This is about the life of our country, the life of our republic, the life of our constitution, or the death of it. And as for me, I'm standing for the life, not for me, but for my children and grandchildren. I will not surrender this so they live in a slave state, hyper-vaccinated, lobotomized ruin of civilization. If America is the light on a hill, we have to keep that burning with the
In other words, Alex Jones's nightmare.
Exactly right. What a dystopian world that is.
Yeah.
Holy cow. I can't imagine every inch of this country filled with Sandy Hookers.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Can you imagine? We would never run out of material. Never.
Oh. Side-thorn journalist.
I would be, I mean, I can't imagine living with people like Lawrence Fine living next to me.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that goober.
Yeah. You know.
Let's do it. I think we
Imagine a country full of Dan handlers.
have another question, Gail.
Imagine a country
Yes,
full of imagine a country full of goddamn. Oh God, oh, why am I forgetting his freaking name?
Willis Bucks.
What? No, I was gonna say, well, that would be a good example. God, what's his name? The one that constantly stalks us. God, the one who lives in California.
Eric Sandstrom.
Yeah, Eric Sandstorm. Yeah. There's no world full of Eric Sandstorms.
Oh my God. I'd leave, man. I'm going to Easter Island. I would leave.
Oh, there is more, but I'll read this
okay.
next one. This is from John. Did or does Scott know anything about the individual from USA MRID? Not sure what that stands for. Lab. It's a lab. Who was thought to be behind, excuse me, releasing the anthrax letters on 9/11?
Okay, yeah, that individual was the guy who killed himself.
Bruce Ivins.
Thank you, Bruce Ivins. Yeah.
Well, I think that was a psyop too. I'm glad you brought that up. The psyop of the anthrax letters, of course, was to introduce the Patriot Act restrictions and the fear and dread.
No, it wasn't. It was to make an Iraqi link, you dumb twat.
I have a headache, but I can't believe he gets these wrong. Like he can't even get the conspiracies right. Exactly right. There was the link. It was supposed to be now. Isn't that what the Muhammad Atta Prague?
Yeah.
It
was all the by time.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Dietrich's and talked a little bit about that. I don't know personally, and I can't really speak with authority on it, other than the anthrax scare and the anthrax letters and what they sent to the American Congress and all that was part of the psyop, part of the cover up of the 9/11 event.
Well, they did, Scott. They did send the letters to the two Leahy and Daschle, I believe it was, who were holding up.
Very good, Gage.
The Patriot Act.
Well, he actually said something. Actually, yeah, I know. Wow, give him.
Nelson,
you get a first grade award.
I did the same thing in the video prior to this, but it didn't work.
Your first attempt.
I went like this. I went, you're good. Gage finally got something right.
Those are the two that got the anthrax.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, that's right there. That's deep state. That's CIA. That's FBI. That's Mossad. Probably
NSA, ABC,
everybody,
every fucking compartment.
Put everyone.
Of course, they wanted the wars, and 9/11 was the
BBC, NBC, CBS, CNN.
Quickening. Again, in hindsight, all of this needs to be exposed and prosecuted.
This is
And
great.
it is. Again, I come back to the Rubik's Cube and
Yep.
your work, Richard, in the scientific evidence is the first step of all of this.
You know, he tends to repeat himself a lot.
Yeah.
How many times have we heard Rubik's Cube today?
Gotcha. Okay. Well, thank you for that. Gail, is there another question?
Yes, this is a question from Ray. Do you think that remote control planes were used on 9/11?
Oh my
you know,
God!
it's that
Yeah,
Ray
you-
guy. It's that Ray
guy.
Kragan.
A list of
wherever he's
Muslim
from.
names was found in luggage that never
Hate
made
that
it
guy.
on one of the
I hate
planes.
him. I hate him.
Was the
I can't
psyop
stand
to blame it on hijackers?
I love
Plane had bombs on the.
Well,
it. Ray Karajan or whatever his last name. Yeah, Karajan.
when I look at the plane issue, I know there's two sides. There are sides that say that there are planes that hit the Twin Towers and hit the Pentagon. I personally am of the side that a plane did not hit the Pentagon because of the absence of the physical evidence. I always come back to the physical evidence. There was no engine.
And I believe that Scott Bennett didn't have a brain because of a lack of a brain.
Yeah.
How about that?
Or wheels. And my dad was a pilot. My uncle was a pilot.
Dude, if this guy can write a book, I can write a book. That's all.
Oh yeah. Abe. That's all. What's it called? Told me that. He goes, all the wrong people are writing books. He goes, you guys should write a book.
Flying when I was.
I mean, I could write a book. I mean, even with half the vocabulary of this guy, and it would still fucking be factual.
I could write it in Braille.
Yeah.
Planes are pretty big. They're hollow aluminum tubes, but they've got some pretty strong engines and wheels and luggage and all that stuff.
I think Nelson and myself have obliterated this argument when we tried to relay this information to our friend Jason Burmis, who actually went crawling back to InfoWars recently. In fact, it was Nelson who initiated the first video, which is PSA 1771, but Jason Burmis had him blocked. So then I tried with German Wings 9525, a lack of a plane debris that looked just like Shanksville, just like Nelson did. And he basically called me a troll. So there you have it. That's the truth movement in a nutshell.
That was at the Pentagon. So I would agree with Barbara Honegger. I think it was something else, and missile. There's people who talk about a dolphin.
Why would anyone believe Barbara Honegger? How about you believe the three firemen from Fort Myer who were at the Pentagon and they had to duck because the plane was hitting them? Why are we talking to Barbara Honegger or Scott Bennett about the Pentagon? Like you said before, why are we talking about people who weren't there? Why don't we talk to the people who were there?
Submarine firing a missile and stuff like that. But the broad stroke is, I don't think a plane hit the Pentagon. I don't think a plane hit the Twin Towers either. Personally, yeah. I think the absence of the physical plane parts it confirms that. I think the impossibility of an illusion.
Well, I mean, why not? Hey,
I mean, I have so many images to completely contradict and dispute every fucking word that comes out of this turd's mouth.
It's incredible. You just name one. I think the most popular one is the wheel in the
I got some of the fucking fuselage, even some of the fuselage landing in the roofs of the smaller buildings by.
Shocking. A lack of plane debris. In fact, there's more plane debris that was photographed at the World Trade Center than was at the Pentagon. And actually, less of the plane was actually recovered at the World Trade Center than at the Pentagon. That's incredible.
Tube with wheels and engines. Crashing through a steel reinforced concrete building that was built to withstand that kind of impact.
Yeah.
No. You take that out of conception. It was made to withstand a 707 that was basically light on the fuel and lost in fog. Okay. These are 757-222 series. These are much bigger planes carrying 33,000 pounds of fuel.
Yeah. And Stephen Martini, the engineer of the World Trade Center, he's saying a plane flying that slow is still going to be able to puncture, but not go all the way through.
Correct.
But that's not the way these fucking planes flew. They flew as fast as they could, straight through the fucking building.
Why do you think they did that, Scott? They don't need to, because he, like with the bowling video I did yesterday, he thinks that there's a missile pod underneath. Jason Burmis, right? Why would you need a missile pod when the plane itself is actually a bomb at that point? 33,000 pounds of fuel. much more damage than a dumb
I
missile.
think they mean that as in remote control theory. That's what like it's something like another device on the plane. I think that's why they say that.
I don't see any rational logic in it.
I don't either.
It's
Never have.
unbelievable.
Well, it's not a lump anyways. It's not. I mean, you look at other photos of the bottom of the plane. All of them have that.
Right. And it's like the that's flight 175 they talk about. United Airlines planes are dark gray on top, dark blue on the bottom. Meanwhile, the sun is rising in the east. It's what is it, 8:53 in the morning? Was it 9:03 when the plane actually crashed into the South Tower? And it was at an angle. The sun is hitting the bottom of the belly. That's what you're seeing.
Yeah.
The light.
Yeah.
That's the light. That's the
reflection.
sun.
That's all.
Right,
It is.
exactly. It's all it
I
is.
think that proves that holographic images may have been used.
Oh my God.
And
I
yeah, and
don't go
holographs
into
can
too
make
much of-
holes in steel buildings that you just said were impossible to go through. What was this like laser?
And Gage just said, look at Gage's face right here. I mean, that's the face I'm making. Like, what are you, first of all,
Why are you putting yourself through this?
right,
Why?
Right.
How,
why?
what
I'm
torture?
cutting it off. I'm cutting it off. I'm cutting it off. Why did I have this guy on?
Yeah.
He just basically made fun of the truth movement just right now.
Made fun of everybody.
Well,
The whole
what
entire
about the-
public, everybody in the world.
Everybody,
The entire
everything.
world. Yeah.
The victim's family, even worse, spit in their faces.
rosters. It's very easy to lie. It's very easy to
Oh,
make
is
up
it?
populations that,
Is it?
that appeared on the plane or that were passengers.
Oh, God. Did you just hear that? Let me replay it again. Look at this.
That was built to withstand that kind of impact. I think that proves that holographic images may have been used. I don't go into too much of, well, you know, what about the rosters? It's very easy to lie. It's very easy to make up populations. And
Make up populations. In other words, make up people. Is it that easy, Scott? What fucking world are you
Well, if you
living
believe
in?
Sandy Hook was all fake, he thinks the entire city is a fucking crisis actor. I mean, it's like a
Imagine
student.
living like this. Imagine.
Wow.
This is the reason why I can't believe there's people like this out there in this
But
world.
it's a very painful stupidity.
Oh my God! This is horrifying.
Yeah. It's just not. It's cruelty to brainwash people to believe this kind of thing. I believe it is. I believe it is.
No, I would agree. I
to
would think
rob
right.
people of these real things, the real heroes of 9/11. You know, that's the big thing. That's why I get mad about Flight 93 the most. It's the robbery of the fucking heroes. At least somebody got to fight those fuckers back.
At least.
At least.
And
Don't
almost
just talk about the fireman hero. I mean, fuck.
and almost exposed the fact that they were going against the narrative of the 9/11 Commission report and the FBI about four hijackers.
With the three hijackers.
Right.
I know.
If they got in there and basically took control of the plane, they're basically going to say how many people were hijacking the plane. 3.
Yeah.
That's what all the phone calls were saying.
Yeah.
But if you don't believe in hijackers or phone calls, you don't know about this.
that appeared on the plane or that were passengers. But I think we always have to come back to the science and not get distracted with the personality or emotions or what about these people. What does the science say? What does the evidence say?
Right.
And
What does it
says
say?
to me, and I'm always willing to be proven wrong. I'm
Good. I challenge you.
Yeah.
I openly
I do
challenge
too.
you.
Bring someone else. Bring your other expert with you. 2-on-2.
Right. I don't care.
Yeah.
But I have it against you. I'm just opening. I'm challenging you. If it's not me, how about you? Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. There you
It
go.
doesn't matter. We both of us are very capable of this. We have different
Right,
different techniques, different ways of doing it, but
Right,
we know how to
right.
do this.
Right. I'm just saying. You want to be
Yeah.
proven wrong? I could less than 5 minutes. Less than 5.
always, because this isn't
Don't need that.
personal to me. It is personal, but in a sense, I want to know the truth, and I want to go where the truth leads me.
Good. Personal to you, where were you the last 10 years? You wrote your book and you basically said that's enough for me. Yeah, I don't see you active on the internet. I don't see you. I haven't seen you in
No,
decades.
never,
A decade.
never.
And the truth is illuminated by the science, the glow in the dark science and evidence
Yeah.
that is before us. And the science and the evidence of the physical facts at the Pentagon tell me no plane was there.
Wow.
And they also tell me the same to the Twin Towers. Now, was it a nuclear blast? Was it accelerated by thermite? Were there other things involved?
Wow. Everything.
Yes.
Everything.
Building 7 A building falling at free fall speed, having everything below the building towers can only mean that it was intentionally detonated. No way was an office fire used to do that. So the physical evidence disproves the planes were there. But I would say the emotional, political side is too. All of the people that were at the Pentagon should be brought in front of courts to testify and be executed if they're lying. Because if you're in a military uniform,
God! Wow, he said, wow.
There's the hammer, by
If
the way.
they're lying, because he's going to call them liars anyways, because by his standards,
Exactly.
he did say it. Wow.
There's the hammer. It came later. But
Oh man, it was
there
all the
you
way
go.
at the end, Adam. Jesus.
yeah, I'm sorry. I was way off. I was way off.
Fuck.
Holy God. I'll play it again.
Yeah,
that were
please.
at the Pentagon should be brought in front of courts to testify and be executed if they're lying. Because if you're in a military uniform and you're participating in this cover-up at the Pentagon, you're unworthy of ever being called an American military person again, and you should be executed.
Well,
That's true.
right.
That's true.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Right. Lieutenant Colonel Brian Birdwell is my favorite eyewitness. He actually was at the Pentagon on the first floor. He was watching the World Trade Center on TV. He went to the bathroom. As soon as he came out the bathroom, he was smoking a cigarette, I believe, and the plane actually crashed into the Pentagon. What happened to him? He was burned over 60% of his body. His uniform melted into his skin, and it was all because of the jet fuel. So,
Yeah.
Scott Bennett, is he lying?
Yeah.
Well, then we should kill him.
Yeah. You want to bring him into the stand? You want to see?
Right.
Are you sure you want to hear him
Right.
testify by looking at him already?
Yeah. So there you go. He's American military official.
Yeah.
For the U.S. I think it's the
Yeah,
Department
and
of-
he has a point. We're when you're in the military, you're not to do treasonous stuff. And it's like, well,
Sure.
that's exactly the reason why it's impossible to believe that 9/11 is a shadow government military operation. That's why. That's why nobody will believe you. That's why no veterans will believe you, unless they're fucking crazy.
Albert Stubblebine.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
That's what you get.
That's what you get.
And Michael Aquino.
Yeah, a Satanist.
By the way, I was just going to say a Satanist.
And I get accused
Right.
for one.
Right,
And
you,
he's the-
you.
and he's the one that
Damn. Oh, curse you. God.
Because we are expected to uphold
Unbelievable.
the protection of the Constitution for our fellow citizens.
I
And the
can't believe it.
Pentagon was an example of the great failure. And everybody who was there has a duty to speak out and expose it.
They
I don't
did.
care if you're a janitor or a general.
They
You have a
did.
duty if you were at the
By the way, they did, and it's actually available. I downloaded all the videos. It took me about 2 months to do it. It's available on the two areas, the Library of Congress and the 9/11 Virtual Museum.
Mhm.
It's all there. All Pentagon officials working from the lowest to the porters to energy management offices and all that stuff. They all there's over like hundreds. There's hundreds of them, hundreds of videos.
Pentagon to speak about what you saw and what you didn't see.
And they did. In fact, there's a list compiled by John Judge, the late John Judge, and Penny Schroeder that's available since 2002. And guess what? All of them saw a plane crash into the Pentagon.
And the Building 7, again, the Indian guy who ran NIST, who tried to say it was office fires, he should be executed after due process of law. And I'm serious when I say execution, because
Oh my
look at
Wow.
the trauma,
Just let it
the
go.
treason that was unfolding
Wow.
around us for 20
God,
years.
I bet NIST would like to hear
And
that.
this was an act of treason. It was a violation of the trust of the American people. We create government.
Building
protect
7
our
killed
rights.
nobody, and
And
this guy
shit.
wants him killed.
Cheyenne Sunder. I should forward this to him.
Yeah, I
The
know
government,
exactly.
as the Declaration of Independence says, when government becomes destructive of our rights and destroys our safety and happiness, it is our duty and our right to overthrow such government
Wow.
and reinstitute government that seems fitting for us. So I think we're at that part.
I think we're
Yeah,
at that
I agree.
part.
Oh my God.
Yeah, after all the QAnon and everything else, and all the FBI surveillance going on now and everything, yeah, I think it'd be a real good time to do that now.
He broke every terms of service on YouTube.
I know.
In the
I
video. He called for the overthrow of the government, the execution of people. He created disinformation and misinformation about COVID and 9/11.
Now, with you
I
being
get it
such
straight.
an incredible force out there exposing,
Oh, he's a force, all
I
right.
imagine, all kinds of other issues as well than you've discussed here.
He's going back to the
How
Pentagon.
is it that you are still alive, Scott Bennett?
Ooh.
Well, to be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord, and I fully have my faith that the Lord shall perfect all that concerneth me.
That's
and
the end.
in
right?
all thy ways
Yeah,
acknowledge
yeah,
him,
yeah,
and he
yeah.
shall make
Wow.
plain
Yeah,
thy
yeah.
paths.
He deserves that meme that I have with the pentagram over the Pentagon hole.
Oh my God, does he not? I mean,
Yeah.
he's a perfect example. You're like, what another dumb question by Gage. How are you still alive? Well,
Yeah,
let me see. He's creating avenues and misinformation that actually helps the government.
Yeah, and it's succeeded. That even helped. That has helped. Successful enough for them to whip up ISIS. Yeah.
Unreal.
I did not choose this route. God put me on this route.
Oh,
I did not choose what I was doing. God gave me the talents and the skills and the
Yeah.
experience and placed me where he wanted to be a speaker of truth and to do
What
it
a
with the force
damn
of
God
blasphemy.
bless.
in
God
his
bless
mind.
atheism.
Wow. What? He even committed blasphemy.
So everything that I do, I commit all, in all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall make plain thy paths. Whatever
Wow.
thy hand findeth to do, do unto the Lord. So I am a man of very deep Christian faith that Christ is my redeeming
That's obvious.
Savior, and that God has given me truth to speak and
Yes.
speak it in love.
And God gave me 9/11 to craft up Satan to scare the shit out of you.
Isn't
To
that
come on my side.
God.
But my citizenship is not of this world. And I think we are in a very limited time on this earth, and we
Yeah.
have to be salt and light. And what we have, we give unto others. And I know, Richard, you've been doing that in your revelations, in your work. And we don't know everything, but what we do know, we present in good faith.
You don't know
And
nothing.
we're
You
calling
don't know
out to
nothing.
those who have ears to hear and those who have eyes to see. And they are coming, and they respond to this truth. Those who don't, well, they have another eternal reward, and it's not where I'm heading.
Wow.
Scott Bennett, thank you so very much.
There it is.
That's it.
Wow. You are you like drained of life?
Yeah.
I
Pretty
am.
much.
I mean, wow. That is like unbelievable. I'm still recording.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts? Yeah, exactly.
What I mean, what do you do? It's like, what do you say? It's like,
Yeah.
it's like I'm embarrassed for both parties.
Yes. Are you more embarrassed? My question for you is, are you more embarrassed for Bennett, who's telling you the obvious things, or for Gage?
Gage.
Gage, right? I agree.
Yeah, it just doesn't. I mean, it's just doomed failure. Such an interview and interviewing people like that, it's just not going to do anything. I mean, he's nobody. He doesn't really have a book to anything to do with 9/11. Nothing. So it's like he has no effect. Thankfully, I don't think he has no influence really.
Yeah, no,
I don't.
right. Yeah, no, you're right.
But obviously there have been people already out. I mean, his ideas are not of his own. We know that they're all
Right.
just borrowed, and it's just, my God, we're a grown man to be believing in such, we suspect could be, working for someone, or whatnot.
Right. To undermine the movement. Right.
Yeah. But it's like, at the same time, I would find that hard to believe because it's just not an effective movement. And, it's just not even really active besides online activism. So I don't see what they need to counter. I think the damage was already done. So
Would it?
Uh,
How about if I give you this scenario? Would it be to undermine Gage, who's now part of the lawyers committee, who's actually trying to be heard
could be,
before it?
could be,
Yeah,
could be,
think-
could be, could be. This is just not all we can do is warn them and hope they watch this stuff, and try not to take everything that we say just as an insult, as constructive criticism, because we still are. I mean, we're not saying, to go look at official things and,
Right.
look at more evidence just for being angry. Just they just need to do that. They need to, it's like playing partially psychologist here, because, we're trying to cure these people. They have a mental illness at this point. And it really is when you build build reality to believe those things are capable and those things are all under control. There's just too many contradictions in that already. And you already heard it so many times with him. He just couldn't make his mind up if we're big, if we're small. What?
You're right. Right.
Yeah, make up your mind. It's like, but I think we destroyed pretty much every single point they brought up, even for myself agreeing to certain things that they, even that I even voted for Trump, but like I said, I don't like most Trump supporters. I don't, and I have a lot, I'm upset of like what happened towards the end anyways. But it confirmed a lot of things for me, at least that, what else I could say about this? Not much, because I don't feel threatened by it. So it's like,
Well, he didn't bring anything new to the table, right?
yeah,
Just repeated
exactly.
the same old thing.
It's like we're still growing, we're getting more of an audience now. It's starting happening to be, slowly, but I think the more that we do things like this, more interviews, and talk to the people instead, hopefully we can something can change. And I kind of see it already slowly, even with the fractioning. We just want a faction that's going to be more dominant with the most factual evidence and position, and at least the motives to actually do something, but that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I think that's the best goal to have. What we want is to build a new movement based on the factual evidence, and where in the future, hopefully, they can overcome the boundaries these people put up and get to a court, and maybe hold someone responsible, or an agency responsible. That's all we want. But
Yeah.
I think that's a great segue to end it finally. And
Yeah.
I'll stop the video here. Hey, anybody who lasted this long, more power to you. And
Yeah.
we'll see you in the next video.